Night Owls.
Turn on Night Owls.
From Sky News, I'm Anna Bates.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And now, the forerunner to Facebook, where your words tell 1,000 Instagrams. Use your phone for making that call. And get talking across the northeast, please. Because this is Night Owls with Alan Robson.
Hello everybody, welcome to Alan Robson's Night Owls, Greatest Hits Radio Northeast, and we thank you for joining us. Well, the unleashing of the virus vaccine has been happening across the country. We hear just in the news there that everybody aged over 80 now has been given it, which is an incredible thing to achieve if you think about it. It's a lot of people. And they're some of the most vulnerable too. So the people have always been battling for protection. It looks like they're getting it, which is great news. Have you had the jab? Are you over 80? How was it for you? And did all your mates come up after you'd had it and punch your arm like they used to do when you got jabs at school? Want your stories? This is going to be every Sunday from now on, henceforth. We are looking forward. We want to get past all of this safely. We're on the last lap, we hope. Let's look forward. We know we've still got a fair bit of lockdown to do. We will get through it together and safely. So we're in the right part of the world to look after one another, again, safely. So let's look at other things that can make us smile, for heaven's sake. A big article in one of the magazines over the weekend asked, what is the worst pain that a man can suffer? What's the worst pain that a woman can suffer? Physical pain, none of the emotional stuff. We're not getting into that. The worst pain for a woman, childbirth, without question. Even though I've heard a lot of stories from women who've had the jab and didn't feel a thing, and the baby just appeared. It's a miracle. For men, it's the dreaded kidney stone. Oh, I've had 7 of them, so I have paid the price for any indiscretions I've ever made. But that's karma, you see. All the nasty things I've done came back round to cause me a problem in Little Alan. Oh. So tell me, what is the worst pain that you have ever suffered? Pick your telephone up, give me a call. It's going to take a bit, though, for you to beat stuff like this. Everything's fine, you're walking about as normal, then suddenly you get a lump on your foot that you can't explain, then a hole underneath right into your bone, and then your foot turns black. They take you to hospital and they say, why don't you stay awake while we cut your leg off?
Yeah, but I tell you what, Al, and he says, lie on the bed, put your feet up, tell us when you feel a throbbing or pins and needles.
Right.
So I lay there and I says, I can feel it now. I could hear the noises and everything in the banging, but I couldn't feel a thing.
Could you hear the saw cutting your leg off?
Yes, you can.
And he's laughing about it. That's bravery, guts and mad courage it is. We mentioned kidney stones being the worst one. I am not alone.
Bigger one that actually got stuck. Pain goes when it comes out of your kidneys.
Right.
So it goes in your bladder, so it's flushing around, looking for the exit. This is why you've got to give it lots of drink.
Yeah, to help it.
Flow going, right?
Sure.
Alan, talk about getting your water cut off. It stopped about 2/3 of the way up the pipe.
Oh, no!
Oh, wet was just gushing out. I thought, oh, no, it took 4 days to travel. It was wedged, and I'm telling you, right?
So how'd you get it out? Did you wring it out?
Not quite, but when it was about, like, say, about half an inch shy of its mark, I thought, I'm not putting up with this anymore.
Right.
I manually extracted it, let's say.
Did it ricochet off the bathroom walls?
No. It's never sweated so much out of me in my life.
But he actually went, oh, you just don't even want to think about it, do you? And one of the greatest all-time conversations that I've ever had was about something that, well, isn't really funny, but it will make you laugh. You got to remember, just listen to it. It's kind of self-explanatory.
When you say, I know somebody that put a daisy up his peni, you're kidding, aren't you?
No, he tried to pull it out and it wouldn't come out because you know how there's like those tiny sticks on it and like it'll go one way but it won't let it come out the other way, so he had to go into hospital and get it cut open.
No, tell me this isn't true, please.
It is.
Oh my God. So, could you imagine the conversation at the desk in the hospital? Excuse me, I got a daisy stuck up my penis. Oh, boy. And he had to have it cut open.
Yeah. He had to have stitches in it as well.
Oh, that'll teach him.
Whoa. Yeah, because some daisies just have that little light bit of flesh holding the flower head. However, others are actually on wood, have wood stems. Now, that's, I think, what happened there. So tell me your stories. Pick up your telephone, 0191 488 3188. What's the worst pain you have ever suffered? Other things we're talking about. Family trips to the supermarket look like they're going to be banned. Who looks after the kids if that's the case? They say that a lot of people are using the supermarket as like a day out and you take the kids and they're up and down running around all the aisles. If only one person from a family can go in, who looks after the children if there's a household of kids? Not every partner is furlough. Also, are takeaways going to close too? In Scotland they already are. Should they also close here? What do you think? Because if you've ever been anywhere where there's late night takeaways, they're flooded with people. Also, the lockdown we're told is being hinted to end at the beginning of March with a return to the tier system. Do you think that's good? Is it long enough? Is it not long enough? We want your views on everything. Also, this one's cool. Do you know 40% of people have and regularly wear clothes that are 5 years plus old? Do you? And what have you got? And the thing I'd like to add to that is Phil from Durham sent a little note in and a photograph of him dressed as a punk. And he's now working in a local authority building with suits and ties and stuff. And he said they wouldn't have hired him if he looked like that. And I just wondered, do you have any photos of your old style? Whatever that happened to be, we would love to share them. Let everybody have a good look and a laugh. And we also hear that all travel corridors are closing without any sign of reopening. The only people able to travel abroad should be wagon drivers, people dealing with goods coming in and going out. Scientists are also demanding that all teachers should be forced to be vaccinated before they can return to the schools. Are you a teacher? How do you feel about that? Necessary precaution? What do you think? Joe Biden undoing a lot of Donald Trump's schemes as soon as he gets into office. And you all watched this week the storming of Capitol Hill. Should Trump be prosecuted as soon as he gets out of power? Because that's going to be the case in 3 days' time. And the National Health Service, in one of the newspapers today, fear that the government are using them as coronavirus vaccine guinea pigs. Now, that's what the NHS staff are saying. I'd love your view on that too. And so much to talk about tonight. Children cannot cope during a divorce. I'm not going to name the lady. Her initial is G. And she's got 3 children, and none of them are coping with the fact that she's split from their dad. Have you been in that situation? What do you do about it? That really is hellish. Also, very quickly, a lot of other things. There's a group of armed protesters at the Michigan state capitol in readiness for Joe Biden's inauguration. Should they just arrest them on the spot? They're all carrying rifles and stuff to say we're not terrorists, but we've come with all these weapons. The NHS are going to trial 24/7 vaccinations too, just to try and hurry this thing on, get us through it quicker. Tens of thousands of people are all working as unpaid carers at present. Are you in that situation, looking after someone and getting no recompense for it? Saving the government a fortune. Families on universal credit, we are told, are going to have their benefits slashed, but they can make a claim for a single payment to help them through. It's what always happens at times like this. The hardest hit get the hardest hit. Councils are making the most money ever on parking fines. Have you been caught yet? Also, 98 flood warnings across Britain. Very heavy rain to come. Be careful of that. Matt Hancock filmed in a London park after Boris told everybody to stay at home. And the army are to be forced to cut 10,000 soldiers next month. And also, what's your view on this? There's a family decided to go on holiday in their camper van, their little bubble. They took their bubble on the road to see a bit of the country during lockdown. And they say that it's just the same as them staying in the house. Is it? What do you think? Because everybody's desperate to get out and do anything, aren't they? Let's face it. Calls for new rules about dog ownership. Your neighbours would have to agree to you having a dog. And if they don't, you can't have a dog. And if you've got a dog and move into a house and your neighbours don't agree, got to lose the dog. What's your view on that? 0191 488 3188. But what is the worst pain that you have ever suffered? There's a lot for you to beat.
Apparently a bee went up his shoulder and stung his little testicle.
No! Oh! What do you mean his little testicle? I bet it was twice.
He was young at the time.
Be twice the size by the time the bees or the wasps finished with it. So he'd have to go and get the sting out, though.
Well, I think his mum had to take it out. I think that's what happened, I think.
Because what you've got to do is you've got to get your tweezers and pull the little black sting out of the...
And I think it's that's sort of really embedded in his head. It's sort of like embedded in his head rather than down there.
So what is the worst pain you have ever... physical pain that you have ever suffered? Anyway, we are going to rise above all things tonight. Erring on the side of positivity. Why not? What's the worst pain you've had, or worst pain a member of your family's had? If you don't want to laugh at yourself, let's laugh at them. Kicking off with one of the most wonderful tunes of all time, and indeed a greatest hit, the OJs.
This is the home of Alan Robson's Night Owls.
With the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Oh, we got all sorts of technical habnabs going on in the background, but don't worry, the show's usually as smooth as a pig on stilts, and I can see tonight being no different to that at all. Very quickly, Craig says his worst pain was the kidney stone and having to have it surgically removed. That was me last year, and they put a stent in, and you think a stent must be like a quarter of an inch to fit in a man's. It's about a foot long, and I had to remove mine by hand, pulling a little thread on Christmas Day. Oh, I wish Santa had done it. Anyway, Shell suggests people at kids' supermarkets, what do you do with them? She says home delivery. You should never take your kids, and we've had a few messages of kids running rampant in stores, and they do. Betty White is 99. And congratulations, happy birthday, and make damn sure you get to 100. Congratulations to you. Jane talks about the dogs, having to ask your neighbours whether you should have a dog, because they always make noise. And she says, well, they should ask my permission to have kids then, because they make at least as much noise. And Stuart, I'm not even sure, I think I know what he means. He says his worst pain was an ingrowing hair on his gooch. Now, I'm really not sure what a gooch is, but I do know that some people have had ingrowing hairs around the back, and they have to dig out a huge hole in your back that has this hair thing. Nasty. So if anybody's ever had one of them, you can ring us and tell me. Meanwhile, let's dive into your pain. Helen in Sunderland. Hello, Helen.
Hello.
Hello, darling. What was yours then?
Oh, well, I had a stent like you.
Oh, they're not
good.
fun. No, you know where mine was. Where was yours?
Well, in the same place, but inside.
It wasn't exactly the same place. Otherwise, you're a very interesting lady. But in the reverse of what I've got, is that what you mean?
Yes.
I've got you.
In the bladder, yeah. And mine actually bent, so it was twisted. So I had to put up with it for 2 weeks, and
did they have to go in physically, or did you have to?
I went in to get it surgically removed, but I was away because and when they went to grab it, they actually missed it and grabbed inside instead. I know.
What did they grab in? What have you got up there that looks like a stent?
I don't know what he was aiming for, but he wasn't aiming for the stent.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
But hopefully it didn't leave any long-term business.
No, once it was out, the pain just disappeared.
If you don't mind, what did you have a stent in for? Was it kidney issues? Or?
I had major kidney stones. I had more kidney stones than I had kidney. The surgeon said. Oh,
because when we're in danger of this becoming the kidney show. However, you get that thing where they put like cream on your belly and they rub the camera on and they have a look inside. And they said to me, oh, you've got loads in there. So instantly you turn white thinking, is this the rest of my life having to do this? How have you got round getting any more then?
Just drinking more water, being more diet friendly in regards to the kidneys and all of that malarkey.
Because they told me at the very beginning, don't eat nuts, because nuts are really bad. So I didn't eat nuts for a year. Then I got another kidney stone. So when I went back, they said, dairy products, keep off the dairy, keep off them. So I kept off the dairy for a year. Then I got another one. And I'm thinking, they don't really know, do they, these people?
No, I think they just guess. They
so
told
you
me to stay...
drink gallons and gallons and gallons.
Yeah, plenty of fluids. They told me to stay off energy drinks, which is a major factor apparently.
Yeah.
But I wasn't drinking loads of them anyway.
No. So have you just had
why I got them.
You just had the one lot?
I've just had the one lot. Well, a big, huge lot. Touch wood. I haven't had any more.
So when they went in for them, did they remove just one, or did they farm you for them like a small coal mine?
I think it was like coal mining. Yes, I think he got miners hat on and went digging.
Because you don't want anybody round there is the thing, though. It's
No, see, they went in me back. They actually opened me up and went in me back and went in and took it out that way.
Give over.
No, I've got about a 5-inch scar on me back.
Because I mean, before I went through the various anxieties and angst that I did, people used to say to me, don't worry, they're never going to do that. They just stick a tune on and they turn it up and they can shatter the stones with sonic booms and stuff. And that was never even offered to me at any point.
No, I think they're just fairy tales to make you feel better.
Yeah, because otherwise, you never guess where we're going. No!
Hi-ho!
Oh, but that's shocking. I'm thrilled you've never had any more. And
no, I am as well.
I presume, though, that you... Because the drinking large amounts of liquid has a price. You must whittle more than normal.
Well, that's gone a bit too far, Alan, but yes, the toilet's my favourite place.
It's just they tell you to drink litres and litres of water or
cranberry juice or anything that'll flush you out, really.
Yeah, but as I say, middle of the night, here we go again.
Here we go again. When it gets to like 3 and 4, you just think, I'm just going to sleep on the toilet all night.
Oh, bless you. Hey, well, thanks for coming on, Helen. Top tail.
No,
thanks for calling. Hope it never happens again. No more for Helen.
Yes, that's to you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, love. I never knew that. For ladies, they go in the back. Wow, really? And stitches and, blimey. I think up the is nasty, but I think I'd rather have that than this. Or would I? I'm not really sure. Anyway, let's go and talk to Emma, who's in Bedlington. Hello, Emma.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, darling. So what's your grand pain then?
Right, I've had 2 children.
Right.
And I've got kidney stones on my 26th birthday. I got them on my actual birthday. I'm telling you now, it's the worst pain I've ever had. I thought I was internally bleeding and dying.
What was the worst? Because this is the grand conflict. Because women who've not had kidney stones always say, oh, no, having a child is nothing worse than
No, terrible. Honestly, and my 2 children were really traumatic births.
Right.
And when I had these kidney stones, I thought I was going to die. I had me funeral planned out and everything. I went to hospital and went, no, you've got kidney stones.
Terrifying. Because I've been rolling around the floor and people look at you and they say,
I was
just...
up and down. I couldn't get on.
Settle?
I couldn't lie on the hospital bed.
No.
She come to give us a suppository and I said, just stick it up.
With a catapult. Just get some...
Just stick it up there.
Get some pain relief in there. Because this is the thing. When you go into hospital and they say, we've got to make sure it's a kidney stone. So they take a whittle sample and all of this. And then they say, we've just discovered, we know it's a kidney stone now. Now we'll give you an injection of morphine. And you could kiss them.
You could, yeah.
Oh, the relief.
I know.
Unbelievable. You see, this is an education, because I thought it was like 90% blokes that got kidney stones.
No, I'll tell you what else is really bad for getting kidney stones. Beetroot.
Give over. Really? Oh, I eat a lot of beetroot.
Yeah. And when I was pregnant with my youngest, that's what I craved. There was a cafe in Bedlington and they did chocolate and beetroot cake. And it's absolutely bloody beautiful. But I'm sure that's what gave me them kidney stones, mind.
Really? And you haven't had them since, and you haven't had a problem since?
Touch wood.
Right, and I'm touching fake wood for you as well as we speak.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Anyways, I've listened to you since I was 13-year-old and I'm 33 now. So that's 20 years, isn't it? I'm not very good at maths.
Well, we're practically related then.
You're the only thing that sends me to sleep.
Well, I'm supposed to keep you awake, but I suppose it's a compliment.
I can listen to you for about 2.5 hours, and then I just thought, it's your voice, man, it's so soothing.
Well, just don't tell anybody. Just say you always listen till 2.
What else do I have to tell you? Dogs.
Yeah.
Right. When I moved into my property 7 years ago, I decided, because I had lived in a flat before then, I was going to adopt a retired greyhound because I love them. I've grown up with them since I was a baby.
Right.
I've always had greyhounds. And unfortunately, we had to get her put to sleep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So anyways, in the meantime, I got myself 2 cats.
Right.
I'm not a big cat lover, me, but I love my cats. They're lovely.
Right.
So I decided it was time to get another dog, and I thought I was nowhere doing retired greyhounds that were cat-friendly. So I got myself a Whippet puppy.
Right.
What a pain in the backside he is. He's a very good guard dog.
Right.
But he barks and he's very territorial and protective over... There's only me and my daughter in the house, so he's very protective over the house.
Right.
But if I get one of my friends who's a male at Woking, he doesn't bark or go for no other dogs. I think it's just because we're girls in the house. But I've always said if the neighbours didn't like him, I would have to move because obviously I'm not going to get rid of him. He's my baby.
Right. But he's a yappy now, is he?
He's not yappy. He's got a big... You think he's a Great Dane, him.
Oh, he's proper barky then, right.
Yeah, but I say to the neighbours, I'm so sorry about Ringo, and they say, oh, he's a good little dog, him mind. If anybody walks past, he lets you know, and because they're quite elderly next door, and they feel dead safe.
Yeah, well, hopefully, though, they're no disrespect to them, but they might be a bit mutton, and they might not hear as much of it as you.
Deaf, actually.
There you go. You see, that'll help. It's a benefit in this case, so that the Ringo doesn't do their heads in. Because if you had somebody a bit younger that was sharper hearing, because you know yourself, there's some houses, if you do the hoovering, they're knocking on the wall.
Haven't they?
Say again?
They've got some houses they've got paper thin walls.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Ringo's good when he's in the house. He just barks if you tell him to speak.
Right. Right, so you don't do a whole heap of that, I'm guessing.
Only when I've had a drink and I want to play with him and I make him speak for his toys and for his treats. But anyways, I'm going to tell you what a gooch is.
Oh, what's a gooch?
Right, I've got to be very careful with my words here.
Oh, right.
You know a man, obviously.
Yeah.
It's between your bum and
your exit, and your
hangy down bits. You know that little bit of skin between your hangy down bits and your bum?
It's called a perineum, and
yes, it's a perineum. That's your gooch.
Oh, hang on. Craig says Gooch is a former centre-back for Newcastle United. It's also the useless gap between your anus and your furry purse.
Yes. But anyways, I don't watch Newcastle. The only reason I watch Newcastle United is for Carl Darlow because I love him. I want to marry him.
Right. Oh, he would dive at your feet, wouldn't he? Oof.
No, because have you seen his lashes? Absolutely stunning. But I tell you what it is, the things I would do to that man.
Well, he's probably now just crashed the car if he's listening. So there you go. Hey, lovely talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
Bye, Alan.
Take care.
Bye.
Love you too. There's Emma in Bedlington. Oh, my goodness. Lovely peeps. Because of their night owls, for heaven's sake. It's how we are. We can't help ourselves. Now, we've got a few other things that we've had requested. Because as you know, the whole mental health issue has been massive. And we had somebody on saying, why don't you play some of those uplifting calls that you had regarding people who were suicidal? And I thought, first of all, no. And then I thought, well, maybe yeah, because there's always something around the corner that you don't know about when your head gets to that dark place. But anyway, let's keep going. We've been talking about worst pains, and we've had some corkers. We have Caitlin from the city of Durham. Hello, Caitlin.
Hello.
Hello, darling. What's your worst pain then? Do tell.
I snapped my collarbone, which I think is part of your shoulder.
Right.
I was riding and it was wet, it was rainy, and I was jumping, and basically the horse took off at such a speed. When it landed, it slipped and I lost my balance, and I basically fell at an angle where I put my arm down to stop me, and the force basically went up my arm and snapped my collarbone.
Oh,
and
that's not
that
fun.
That was the most horrendous pain I have ever felt in my life, and I would have never wished on anybody that pain.
So what do you do, though, when you're lying on the ground? Presumably the horse is up by this point and possibly just standing about, but you're in so much pain, you can't. It's not like you can get up and say, I'll ring a taxi or something.
I was very lucky I had someone with me at the time who went and got some help.
Right. Did they write for help? Because that's incredibly romantic.
Well, he eventually went and got some help. It looked dislocated because it was actually pretty much halfway down my body at this point. My arm.
Really?
And it looked dislocated. So somebody there had actually asked, would I have liked to have put it back into place?
Whoa.
I am so glad I said no.
Yeah, because everybody's seen that Rambo film. And they say, I'll just bang my shoulder up against a tree. That's all you have to do. Don't even think about it. No. So did they end up putting, like, screws and stuff in you? Or?
Absolutely not. They didn't. I went to hospital. I sat in A&E for about 30 minutes, got into triage, got straight to it, having painkillers and it being seen within an hour.
Wow.
And it basically was... It didn't need any screws. It didn't need any surgery. It just needed to be put in a sling
Right.
for 6 weeks, which is...
But presumably they'd have to pull it back into where it was, I suppose. Were you awake when they did that, or what?
Yeah, I was in shock, so I was shivering a lot in the hospital, and I can only remember bits and pieces.
It's probably just as well, I would
I
say.
remember when they had finally put my arm into the sling and they had sorted it out, given me painkillers, and I was ready to go. I had this nurse come up to me. He says to me, sorry, darling, can you come here for a minute? We just need to check the bone hasn't gone to the other side. It's gone to your neck.
Right.
And I kind of looked at him and I said to him, well, shouldn't you have seen that first, Bresson? So it was really quite an awful experience.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know they say, like, riding a bike, you've got to get straight on the bike again. As soon as you got the plaster off and the sling away, were you back on Neddy again?
Wow. I was.
Good girl.
It was horrible, though, because it was my dominant arm as well. And it was the brace was so close to my neck. And because it was my dominant arm, I couldn't do anything. So I remember waking up the next morning and I couldn't get up. I couldn't push myself up. I was literally stuck in bed in pain.
Yeah, but the thing, what you don't realise, and I know there are some people who are like a thing called ambidextrous, you know, they can use both hands the same. I can't. I've got a dominant arm. And when I broke because I was playing in a charity football match and I snapped my ulna and my radius, diving at the feet of somebody, and they give me a good kicking. And when I was out of use of the right arm, you can't wipe your bottom, you can't eat properly. It's ridiculous. It's like the arm belongs to somebody else, your other arm.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 19 and I literally had to get... no, I'm 20. Yeah. I had to get somebody to actually cut off my food for me because I couldn't pick it up. I couldn't dive in to get my food, and I kept knocking it all over because I had to use my left.
It's just wonky. I don't know what it is, because you would think, well, you've got another hand. And I suppose if we tried long enough and for years, we'd probably get some kind of use out of it. But it just feels like it's somebody else's arm. It's the oddest thing.
It was horrible, and I wouldn't have wished it on my worst enemy.
Well, let it never happen again. I hope you glue yourself in them stirrups, lass.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Good talking to you, Caitlin. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And stay well, everybody. Listening at home, you're probably thinking, should I ring and tell Alan May? Horrible incident. Of course you should. That's the point. That's what we're asking you to do. Let's go to Bishop Auckland because Anita is there. And don't forget, we've got a competition for you. In about 15 minutes, give you your first clue. They're called Slinky. It's links. It's 4 things that are linked together. Somehow, you've got to tell me how. It's a juicy one tonight. I think you'll like it, especially if you're a big fan of greatest hits in general. Anita, Bishop Auckland. Hello, Anita.
Hello, my darling. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you kindly. So, do tell me about your horrible moments.
Well, mine's kidney stones versus labour.
Right.
I've had both.
Right.
72-hour labour was my first child.
Oh, you see, now I would have thought that would trump kidney stones, mate.
It does.
It does, right.
It really does. It It took me 13 years to have another kid. Kidney stones, it was a few weeks. It was all right, you know. It was pain, but you get over it.
Did it come out, or did they have to go in?
They went in.
Oh, right, okay.
So, but that's okay. But the labour was horrendous.
This labour thing, now, obviously not anything, unfortunately, we'll ever have to go through. People say I was in labour for... Are you in the hospital all the time, just kind of straining and stuff? Or how does it work?
I kept going to the final stages, but not dilating. So I was having all the pain, but not actually getting anywhere.
No product, right? Gotcha. Right.
So I had.
So what do they do though? Because you see, I've heard different things. Some men say, and it would only be a man, would say, just got to have more sex even though you're pregnant. And it kind of keeps everything, working down there. Then the other people say...
big hook and break your waters.
Hot curries? Have a hot curry, that'll sort you out.
Oh, I went bowling. I went 10-pin bowling after having castor oil.
Right.
The only thing that moved was my bowels.
Oh.
Then I went on the back of a motorbike across a very bumpy, cobbly road, trying to shake it out. That didn't work either.
So what did it then?
I was actually in hospital for the 72 hours because I was in second stage labour when I went in, and then I went to final stages.
So what got you there then? Or was it just time eventually?
It was actually 1989. Remember Lizzie?
Oh yeah, the keep fit woman off the telly.
That's her.
Yeah, remember.
8 o'clock in the morning, she used to come on, and they had the TV on in the labour room.
Right.
And she's shouting, push, and I'm shouting, I am. And then they finally got a doctor in who held my hand, tried to reassure me by saying, this is my first,
Oh.
I said, snap, join the club.
You don't really want to hear that, though. You want to be reassured. What's happened to bedside manner in this country, honestly? They should have said, well, I've done this thousands of times. It's totally normal. Everything's fine. But no. Oh, my goodness.
My blood pressure was all over. Baby's heart was going funny.
Right. Was everything all right, though?
Everything was fine. When they said I was going to have a cesarean, he popped out.
So, I mean, all of that pushy-shovey that you'd gone through before that was a waste of time then?
Yeah, they just mentioned cesarean and there he was.
I got mixed feelings about this because for thousands of years, 50,000 years, human beings have been able to give birth relatively naturally. And yes, there's some problems that, and I understand that even back in the olden days, it was...
Look how many... fatalities there were, though.
No, absolutely.
There isn't the fatalities now that there were then.
But it just seems they say as soon as there's any kind of issue, cesarean. It seems that way. Yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad thing because at least they can keep everybody safe that way.
In the 80s, it wasn't like that. It had to be really bad before you got one.
Yeah, I remember.
Now it seems like it's quicker and easier to do it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you'll have the bikini line thing going on.
Yes.
Right. But that's in a way. Are you glad that you had your stitches there rather than anywhere else?
Oh no, I didn't. I didn't have the cesarean. He actually just came.
Oh, great! Oh, that's wonderful. Right.
I had stitches later.
Right.
For having bits removed.
I don't even want you to expand on that at all.
No.
Dear.
That was ovarian cancer.
Oh, no. Oh, blimey, you've been through talk about 72 hours labour being the worst. Surely that's got to be worse, the cancer thing, because you just don't know. You don't know whether it's going to be successful or not.
Yeah, but I've been 20-odd years clear, so I'm okay.
Good lass.
Okay.
That's brilliant. It's just what we need to hear at this time. We want to hear good news instead of same old news. That's the thing.
Exactly. You can get over anything
Absolutely.
with the right mindset. I just feel sorry for those that haven't got it.
No, absolutely. But no, the whole thing of 72 hours, I'm just wondering, is that a record? I mean, waiting for that, or has anybody gone longer than that?
I don't know.
We might just find out now. Tremendous. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Anita.
Thank you, darling.
Bless you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We got some lovely people on tonight. And 72 hours. And you see, even though I've been literally rolling around the floor, screaming in agony, and I always presumed that the kidney stone was it. Nothing could beat that. Well, for men, I believe that to be the case. Now, women have a stronger pain threshold than men. That's why they live with men. And I would have thought that it would have been easier because of women's extra strength in that department. Because men genuinely are wimps in comparison. Because if we had to put up with childbirth, we would never have a baby. I truly believe that. Wendy is next, and she's in Howden. Hello, Wendy.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, my love. What have you got for me tonight, then?
It was about the pain thing, so I commented saying that the worst pain I've ever had was toothache. And I've had 2 kids, and I heard Anita's previous story, and one of my kids' labours was 72 hours as well. It was a slow labour, but at least I was given my painkillers for it.
Right.
With the toothache, there was nothing that I could do. I was on paracetamols. I was on just everything that I was allowed. I was sleeping on a pillow with a hot water bottle. It went on for days and days, and I ended up calling the dentist crying. It was awful.
Why did you leave
through childbirth again?
Why did you leave it? Why did you leave it so long with the toothache? Usually, if you get a toothache,
it was the appointment. No, I didn't. Like, I couldn't get an appointment quick enough.
What?
I know.
Because I would have thought for an emergency.
When I was crying, they changed the appointment when I was crying. I mean, I was 30-odd at the time when it happened. So
Horrible.
When I was a 30-odd-year-old woman on the phone crying her eyes out saying, please remove this tooth, then they sorted an appointment out for us faster.
And the thing is, with toothache, it's right in the middle of your head, so you can't not think about it at any time. I used to do that. I had a really bad one once, and I don't drink, but I got some whiskey, and they said, well, just swill it, swill it.
Yeah.
I swilled it about every 15 minutes for about 4 hours, and then I woke up and I still had toothache. It was,
Yeah, it's not fun. No. And when it was removed, it was one of the best feelings in the world. I remember I was just trying to talk. I was like, thank you so much. And I was like drinking cups of tea through straws and everything for about a day afterwards, and my face numb, and I was trying to put my earphones in and I couldn't feel my ears. I was that numb, but I just knew the pain had gone, and I was like,
yeah, we're happy enough with that. Oh,
yes.
Top call.
That was the worst one for me,
right,
definitely. And I've been run over, had 2 kids. I've kicked a chair when I went to kick a football, and I broke 2 of my toes.
No.
I promise you, toothache was the worst one.
And you've tried all the other pains just to make sure.
Yes.
Excellent.
That one topped it. Definitely.
Thank you, Wendy. Top
No,
call.
but Alan.
Thanks, love. Bye-bye. There's Wendy in a Howden. She's tried everything else. And, okay, so we have coming up a host of you telling me your worst pains. You should pick up your telephone, 0191 488 3188. Now, Paul Carrick from Mike and the Mechanics, and also his first band was Ace, fabulous band. We asked Paul, what was his worst pain? What's the worst pain that you've ever suffered? I want accidents, I want blood, gore, I want operations, dentists, I don't know what. What's the worst pain you've ever suffered, Paul?
Worst pain. Might be, I've been a lucky guy, I haven't had a lot, but appendix wasn't much fun, actually. I had a grumbling appendix for ages.
Did it ever need taken out?
Yeah, had him out, yeah.
So you didn't have one of those moments where you go, oh, it's burst, quick, get him to a hospital?
No, it wasn't far off, though, I don't think, because it had been grumbling away for ages, and everybody used to think that I was drunk and stuff when I was throwing up all over the place.
Right,
but
yeah.
no, so
that
not bad on the pain front. Been lucky.
Yeah, that doesn't...
So far, with the wood.
Still doesn't sound fun, having a grumbling one, so we're glad it's gone. Be gone, grumbling appendix.
Co-workers remain at the front of the queue. These volunteers in Sheffield are pleased to be playing their part in helping to protect the elderly.
It's the first time they've been outdoors for a year, and they all come blinking into the sunlight, and they're so excited.
When I was thinking about these people, they're actually the people who built this city, and for us to be giving something back to them is quite amazing, to be honest.
The Foreign Secretary's revealed the easing of lockdown measures in England will probably involve the tiered restriction system. Dominic Raab hopes to look at relaxing some of the rules by March. Police in Greater Manchester have issued 110 fines to people who've broken coronavirus rules since Friday. Officers broke up a number of house parties this weekend. Elsewhere, Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has been detained at an airport in Moscow. He's returned from Berlin, where he was recovering from exposure to the nerve agent Novichok in August. In sport, Liverpool remained 3 points behind Premier League leaders Manchester United after a goalless draw at Anfield. Manager Jurgen Klopp says his side did everything they needed to except score.
I liked the game. It was I saw a lot of really good individual performances, a lot of really good, and the team performance was really good. And so that's how it is. 0-0, not the result we wanted, but the result we got, and now we keep on going.
Manchester City are up to second thanks to a 4-0 thrashing of Crystal Palace. Tottenham beat Sheffield United 3-1, while Scottish Premiership leaders Rangers drew 1-1 at Motherwell. And England's cricketers should wrap up victory over Sri Lanka in the first test early tomorrow morning. They'll resume their second innings on 38 for 3, needing just 36 more runs to win. From Sky News, I'm Anna Bates.
Thanks, Anna. Alan Robson with your Greatest Hits Radio. It is. And on the end of the telephone, somebody that I've been listening to all week. There's a new album out from Magnum, one of Britain's greatest rock bands. It's called Dance of the Black Tattoo. It's just out. I must admit, it has blown me away this past week. I love the band anyway, and I'm very proud to say that Tony Clarkin's on the line. Hi, Tony.
How you doing, mate? All right.
Great to hear from you. What's the worst pain you've ever had, then?
Worst pain I've ever had, I was on a tour bus.
Right.
Obviously, it's crowded tour bus and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I had this swelling in my foot.
Right.
I figured it was something when I walked on stage and I sort of trod on a lead or something and it twisted the foot. But it exploded like a balloon, and I was still had to play, I was in Germany at the time, if I recall. And I went to the hospital, all that sort of business. I was on crutches, crazy, and it was like really, really bad pain. And like the guy at the hospital said, take 2 paracetamol and get on with it, sort of thing.
How do you play guitar? How do you play guitar with crutches?
Well, I didn't use the crutches. But I mean, through the day, I'm hobbling along on these crutches and that. But when I got back to England, this guy, you're going to laugh now. They actually told me it was gout.
No.
Yeah, really.
How much port do you drink, Tony?
Yeah, that's an old wives' tale, that is.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I haven't had a drink, believe it or not, for 16 years or something.
Wow.
But I take this stuff. It's cherry sort of capsules.
Right.
And it cures it instantly. And you're talking about the most vicious pain. When you see those sort of old paintings and geezers with a bandage on the foot and the foot's on a stool and all that.
Yes.
You can imagine how I felt. Murder.
Hey, well, first of all, congratulations on the album. A long time coming and very special. Explain.
It was just, it was nothing, it wasn't our idea, in fact. It was the record company's idea. This guy, who's the label manager, just called me up and said that we'd done a ballads album probably 3 years ago. He said, what about doing a heavier, sort of the best of the heavy stuff that you've done?
Right.
And he sort of wrote a list out, and most of it was pretty good, and some I changed. And so we just put it together, and I was really quite pleased with it. And
no, you should be. What my version of it is. It's almost like turbocharged Magnum. It's because I've always liked Magnum, and you've had a lot of success over the years, one way or another. You know, in the charts too. It just seems though that this is like if you wanted to buy a bottle of concentrated Magnum, this is it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. No, congratulations with it. How have you coped with all of this lockdown? Because you're not being able to gig. You've been sitting on your duff, and then. I mean, last year was written off for most people in the industry. How's it been for you guys?
Yeah, well, our tour was cancelled. We were actually rehearsing at the time, and we got it all sounding great. And suddenly I get this phone call. It's all pulled, because of this. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a surprise. We were probably expecting it, really.
Right.
But. I've written a new album while I've been sort of sitting on my butt at home, So
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's like it gave me a time to sit down and.
I bet it's time though. You've never had since the very beginning of the band, and I remember years and years and years ago with a Kingdom of Madness and an EP with Invasion on it, and this is an exciting new band just coming out and. Charge. And then I remember years later we caught up round about the time of Vigilante, and all the success was kicking to the left and right across the world. Yeah. Was that a huge surprise for you? Because it was what you were working for, but so few rock bands ever get there.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it at the time, I've got to say. It was a surprise, I think. But it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it sort of all broke up for a few years, and then I put the band back together, and from then on, we've sort of gone on to much bigger and bigger
absolutely.
things,
No, absolutely. And the thing that you've always done is you've never, cause a lot of bands, and you know yourself, there's an awful lot of rock bands out there that live off what they did 10, 5, 15, 20 years ago. Yeah. And you've never done that. You've always decided, no, stuff that. This is new. We're going to do this. And you've always taken it off in interesting directions. It's almost like... It's what you should do. Let's always look for pastures new. And the Magnum fans have stayed with you. They're amazingly loyal.
Yeah, that's... we must have the most loyal fans going. But like you say, I like to go forward, I mean, more than anything else, if you're playing the same stuff, you probably get bored as crazy doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Better to do new stuff. Keeps you on the ball. Keeps you playing better. So that's my sort of take on it.
And I don't know how Bob's kept his voice, because I mean, some of the stuff that he does, he's pushing it, isn't he?
But you want to hear this new album?
Well, I have. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
He's done an absolutely brilliant job. Both. I mean. To me, it sounds like one of the best he's ever done.
I agree.
It sounds fantastic.
Absolutely agree. It's called Dance of the Black Tattoo. Well, thanks for piling in with your worst pain as well, Tony. Love to the rest of the band. It's an absolute gem. Mate. Thanks for coming on the show.
Cheers, Al.
Take it easy. Take care. So there you go. Tony Clarkin, guitarist extraordinaire and all-round gooder. Nice lads. From the Birmingham area, as you can probably tell with the accents, they're just a top British band, travelled all over the world. If you've never sampled them, listen to a song called When the World Comes Down, and if you do that and listen to the words and you let it envelop you, you will buy everything that they've ever done. It's an inevitability. Now, I've got a first clue for you to win yourself a Night Owl mug. 4 clues. It's called Slinks, because it's all about the links, and 4 things linked together by something. You've got to tell me the something that links the 4 answers together. Don't ring in till you know all 4 answers, though. That's part of the deal. The first clue is this Tamla Motown greatest hitster was very superstitious, okay? This Tamla Motown greatest hitster was very superstitious. Writings on the wall. So, that's your first clue. 3 more clues to come. Let's get into some more of your calls. Worst pains. Sando in Wallsend. Hello, Sando.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
I'm brilliant. Thank you kindly for asking. I hope you're well as well. So, what you got for us all? Good.
Yeah, well, just one thing about worst pain. The worst pain I ever experienced was a few years ago. I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh, no.
But before it was confirmed, I had to go for a biopsy.
Right.
And I have to say, the pain was excruciating, and they put like a very small, a very fine needle, obviously into me breast and things, and there was some student nurses and student doctors in the room, which they said, you might have said, and I said, oh no, and because they were in watching the monitor, to say what to look for, the nurse that was doing it was obviously taking that time, and it was absolutely, and I remember the nurse saying to us, nothing else that you'll go through will be as painful as this. And she was absolutely right, because obviously once I found out it was positive and I had a lot of treatment, and every time anybody mentions really bad pain, that always comes to my mind. Yeah.
But the thing, I think it's cruel, that whole let's have an audience when we give this woman anything. And I know students have to learn, I get it, but there was an incident that I had when I was a little boy. I was about 9, 10, 11, sometime around there, and I had a tooth growing under my nose, sideways.
Right.
Instead of coming down, it was going sideways.
Right.
And they said, it's going to cause pain in all the teeth it passes, and it's not going to stop. It'll end up resting on a tooth. The best thing we can do is cut your gum and take it out. Well, they didn't say that to me because I was a bairn. They said that to my mother, and my mother said, oh, yeah, that's fine. No problem. So the day that I went to the Newcastle's dental hospital, up beside the RVI, so I went in there, and they, again, said to my mother, do you mind if the students come in and watch this, because it's an interesting one? And my mother said yes. And there was 11 people watching, and that meant that the guy doing it had to tell them what was going to happen. Now, I was wide awake, and there was a nurse holding me hand because I was just a baba. And then I remember vividly, because, I mean, you will remember vividly everything that happened with that damn needle. I've got no doubts about that. Well, I remember them saying, I'm going to get the scalpel now and make my incision.
Oh, no.
Ooh, I could feel me trousers filling. It was like, you're going to what? And then it says, I've made my incision now. It's not long enough. I'm going to have to cut again.
Oh, no.
That's just, it's cruel. And it stayed with me for you didn't, then you don't want to go to the dentist because you're terrified and all that stuff that comes with it, as if dentists aren't bad enough. But, I just don't like the student. I know they've got to watch. Let them watch through a two-way glass thing. And have somebody explain it to them next door, not when you're in with patients, though.
I know.
I mean, I hope, was the cancer treatment successful for you, darling?
Oh, yes. And I mean, I've been in, I got the all clear and stuff, which is great. But I do remember, the thing is, I'd gone into the room on my own thinking, well, I just didn't realise how bad it would be. And one of the nurses, she was lovely, and she was there inside, and she put her arm out, and I remember clinging onto her arm, and I thought, crikey, I probably must have bruised it or something. And then when I finished, goes, you did very well, she says, because it is very, very, it can be painful. And it's just one of those things that, I mean, the very area, yourself, you can imagine, because it's a tender place. And to have anything that's...
No, nothing round the private areas. I mean, in general, wherever the private areas are, leave them alone.
Yes,
leave them alone.
I know.
Oh, my goodness.
I know, yeah.
Did you manage to, I mean, you had breast cancer. Did you manage to retain them, or did they have to operate?
Oh no, well, I had a lumpectomy at first, and I had a mastectomy.
Right.
So but it was what it was. It's fine, luckily.
And I tell you, it beats the alternative, 100%.
Oh yeah, of course. But as I say that, considering all the needles that I had after that following. And we used to say, you feel the shock, and I was nothing.
Nothing in comparison, not bad.
And I thought, I feel like a pin cushion. I'm not bothered, but it was like that.
A lot of people have said, even when they're going for a little bit, I'm just going to take a little bit of skin, and you think, well, it's just a needle. It's so damn sight more than that, isn't it? Because they've got like little grabbers apparently on the end.
Yes.
Oh, high tech. I asked the question. I'm regretting now a bit because I've gone a bit queasy. You also want to talk about Newcastle United, I gather.
I did, yeah. I'm a season ticket holder at Newcastle, and I know at the moment, Steve Bruce has been getting a lot of stick. Recently, well, I don't think he's had very really, that was that favourable when he was appointed. And I feel a bit sorry for him, because I think it's people, there's people sort of, we'll get somebody else. But in my opinion, it doesn't matter who we get, it'll be exactly the same.
Yeah, I don't think the problem's in that seat, really.
Well, I mean, we had a high-class manager in Rafa. I mean, look at the pedigree he had.
Absolutely.
And I really don't think that Newcastle United did anything for his career, to be quite honestly, because, he couldn't, and it must have been very frustrating for him. And I think you have to look higher up at the bigger picture. And as long as we've got, like, the current setup that we've got, with training facilities and that need updating and things like that, then you could have the best manager in the Premiership. But if you can't get what you want, or if you can't, do the team the way you want to do it, then you're not going to be any better off.
And we've heard stories about various players, Joe Linton especially, where the big boss says we're going to buy him at all costs because he's going to change the team. You've got to play him. Well, you cannot say that to a manager. You've got to let a manager pick his own people.
Well, it's in the word manage, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, no, for sure.
The thing is, as well, I think as well, when you have unrest in a team that comes from the top, it goes right down to the actual team. And the way things have been this year, there's been no fans there, and I can't speak for other teams, but certainly Newcastle, the fans are the 12th man.
Absolutely.
Always.
Yeah.
And I know everybody's, all the teams have had to cope with players having COVID, this, that and the other. But I think in Newcastle, because they haven't got the players don't seem to have the enthusiasm.
I think they can, not just Newcastle, I think players have had an excuse not to be great. And I think when you've got people, and I've not played professional football at all, but I've done a few charity games, and when you're in a full stadium, anything you do wrong, you get barracked on all sides. So you're lazy, pick you, you're useless, this, you effing that and the other. You get all of that. And I tell you, it makes you better. Because and when you do something right, oh my goodness, you feel like a king and you want to do even more right. So when you got 50-odd thousand in St. James's, they can suck the ball in the net for you.
Of course they can. And as I say, going back to like Steve Bruce now, I think sometimes his tactics are questionable, and you've got to, depends on who you're playing, sometimes you have to change that defensively or attacking. And I get that, but I just think, he's a lot of people really, I don't know what they expect, because if he was to leave tomorrow, or if he got the sack and they get somebody else, it'll be more of the same. That's the thing.
I think if you hire any manager, and with Rafa it was typical, because Rafa's saying, I know who we want to buy, I've got the 3 players in mind, I wasn't allowed to buy them. If you don't give a manager the team that he wants, what's the point?
That's what I mean.
What's the point?
What was the point of bringing somebody like him to St. James's Park, knowing that fans would love that and the expectations would be really high?
I thought it was going to be literally a game changer. I thought, blimey, about time. We've got, since Bobby Robson, got somebody like mega.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, somebody that every team would think, oh, Rafa, and he can be our manager. And at the end of the day, as I say, I was one of the critics myself when we got Steve Bruce. But I do think Steve Bruce is I do think he tries his best.
Yeah, I think he's got his heart in the right place.
Yeah, and you can only play with what's in front of you. You know what I mean?
For sure.
That's the thing. So, I just think people are too critical and get rid of them, and it would just take a merry-go-round.
Well, I think it has been. It's St James's in any case. But hey, good hearing from you, Sando.
Right.
Thanks for calling, love.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Sando in Wallsend. Going to be talking to Hussein in South Shields very, very soon. But just before that, quick piece of music. Big Country. Loved them. Always have. Here's me having a chat with them about, well, home ground.
So where are you both from?
I was actually born in Manchester, of all places, and grew up in Scotland. My dad is from the area that I grew up in, but he was working in Manchester at the time when I was born.
Right.
I grew up in a small mining village in Scotland called Crossgates, which is just outside Dunfermline.
And what was that like? Poor living? Were you rich?
No.
Did he own the mine? Come on.
No, he didn't own the mine at all. No, when we went back up to Scotland, he started working deep sea trawlers, going across from Scotland across the North Atlantic to Newfoundland to fish for cod. So he's a hardy soul.
Yeah.
He's in his 60s now, and there's no way I would even.
But you're a sissy musician. How did that happen?
I could put my two arms together, I wouldn't make up one of his. How it happened was he never wanted me to go down the coal mine, so the only alternative I had was to either play football or become a musician. And musicians at that time seemed to attract more women, so that seemed to be the best option for me.
And it would have to be Dunfermline, I suppose.
That's right.
So was that the other reason?
Well, no, I'm a hardcore Dunfermline fan, and when I was a boy, they were a good side.
2 years, man, a boy.
In fact, the funniest thing of all, the first person that actually saw scoring for Dunfermline was Alex Ferguson.
Is that right?
Yep, scored in a 2-1 victory against St Mirren in 1965.
Whatever happened to him?
I imagine it. It's been all downhill for him since he left Dunfermline.
What about you, Tony? Where are you from?
I was born in a really swish area of London called Shepherd's Bush.
Right.
Where people like me weren't expected to achieve bugger all, so
right.
I went out to set them wrong, and then I became a guitarist, a bass player, because I saw this group on Top of the Pops once, and the guitarist only had 4 strings, and so that looks easy. So I'll go for that one.
Call Alan Robson's Night Owls now.
0191 488 3188.
This is real life conversation with the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And we're talking about everything, but mainly pain, it seems, tonight. We've got ourselves in a fun little groove, so let's rock it on. 0191 488 3188. Get your calls in. Spread the word of the owl, as always. Now, this message came in a little earlier, and could you please mention this? It's my mum and dad's 40th wedding anniversary today, and they've also recently retired from fostering. After 30 years, it's Anne and Bob Shaw in Jarrow. Congratulations, Anne and Bob. Lots of love from Richie, Elaine and Cassie the dog, whose tail is wagging. There you go. Great stuff. And let's get on and get some more pain, I think. Hussein has been waiting ever so patiently. Hi, Hussein.
Hi, Alan. You all right?
Yes, I'm good. So what was your greatest pain then? Do tell.
Well, I went in the hospital about 12 or 13 years ago.
Right.
After I twisted my back.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, go in there, get it sorted, come out. And I ended up coming out with nerve pain in my foot.
Oh, no. Did they sort your back out, though?
They sorted me back out, left us actually worse.
Really?
Now I've had nerve pain for like 12, 13 years now. And it's...
Explain what that means. I mean, where's the pain then? In your foot?
It's in my foot, in my left foot.
And this is because a lot of pain from your back can be any part of your body, can't it?
Yeah.
So, and you've gone back and you've said, hang on, came in here to get put right and you've put me wrong in a different direction. Yeah, what do they say about that then?
Nothing. This was like 12, 13 years ago. And
yeah.
I've been in and out having tendon transfers. I went in to get me disc shaved.
Right.
The nerve moved over to try and help it, but I came out worse.
Oh,
and it's not the case that I've got the pain. It's for this long. When you've got pain for so long, it starts to play with your head.
Yeah, I bet. No, I can imagine.
I don't know if anybody's ever had it that bad. They probably have, but...
So how do you deal with it, though? If it's because it's like 24/7 pain.
It's 24/7.
Forever.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not going to go away. How do you sleep?
I don't. It's unbearable some days.
Aye, aye, aye.
And I've got an appointment at Freeman's. Well, when the COVID thing goes over.
Yeah. Everybody's been put back. It's a bit of years.
It'll be years, yeah. But
what a clout.
Hopefully, so I'm getting put forward for trials for nerve pain.
Right.
So hopefully, now it's going to be better than ever.
Oh, I hope so. Oh, that's awful. And I know the NHS do the best they can. But, But I've heard a few cases of people going in and coming out, with a MRSA or something worse.
Yeah.
And it's the last thing you want. I know it's a rarity, but if it's you, oh my goodness.
I didn't expect to come out worse. I expected to come out,
of course,
a lot better, but not worse than it actually was.
No, not at all. Hey, well, Hussein, I'm sorry to hear it. Thank you for coming on and telling me all the same.
Thanks a lot, mate. Have a good evening.
All the best. Bye-bye. And we are getting a lot of stuff coming in. Neve has just sent this one. On the question of the worst pain, if it counts, I used to have constant horrible nightmares every night when I was younger, which would get very creative about ways to hurt me. And I unfortunately felt everything in them. One of the worst ones I had in terms of pain was being stabbed right through the heart and then cut open by somebody who wanted to kill me and unfortunately succeed in her dream. As for waking life, worst pain I've had was an untreated ear infection. The pain from them is absolutely ridiculous. You can't do anything. They're just horrible stabbing pain in your head. Hope the rest of your evening is more pleasant. Neve, thank you very much for that. Let's crack on. Mark's with us in Cox Lodge. Hiya, Mark.
Bonjour, Alan.
Hello, mate. Good to have you with us. What's your story then?
Well, I snapped my Achilles. When was it? Was it 2019? 2019.
What were you doing? I
was on the sideline. I managed my son's football team.
Right.
And it was the last game of the season. And we had to win the game to win the league.
Right.
And when the final whistle went, we had actually won. And I jumped up to celebrate.
You were just about to do a Bob Stoker, were you? You were going to...
No, I didn't even get both feet off the ground.
Oh, no.
And when I landed, and I actually turned around to look because I thought one of the bands had smashed the ball off the back of my leg. And the manager next to us, he was about 10 yards away from me. He went, "Was that your leg?" I went, "Aye, I think it was." So anyway, that wasn't too bad. It was the recovery that was bad. It was the things that followed it, like the plantar fasciitis, the constant cramps, the decreased blood flow. And it was horrendous. But after about a month of intense physio, they told us I could start. I'd say about 6 weeks. They said I could start cycling again. So I said, right, no problem. So I got myself a bike, and I got about 100 yards up the top of the street on my first bike ride. And I snapped it again, but I'd also tore my calf in 4 places as well.
Oh my goodness! Oh, this isn't funny because you occasionally you hear these stories about like professional footballers. Oh, he tore his Achilles.
Well, I actually done mine on the same day as a footballer, Rufus Loftus-Cheek.
All right,
Chelsea.
yeah.
I actually done that on the same day as him. He and we're both obviously ruptured with Achilles. It was just mad the process of events,
And also, though, the sound of it going is, if you saw that on a film make that noise, you'd go, that doesn't happen, but it does.
It's like snapping a twig. But obviously, they said it was because of the year earlier I had torn my other calf in 7 places, and they said that the reason why that had went is because it was overcompensating for the other calf.
One. Yeah,
so I've torn both my calves and my Achilles on me. So it's it wasn't very nice, but we're getting there.
I'm guessing you're walking like John Wayne now. Is that what happened? Or have you
Probably
got them
worse.
Really?
No, it's not that bad. Honestly, there's a little bit of when it's cold. It takes a little bit to warm it up and stuff like that. But
like a lot
the
of
line
things.
of work that I do, I've just got to get on with it, So
No,
it's
for sure.
it's just one of them things.
But did they win? Well, they won. Obviously, they won the league.
4-2. We won the league, yeah.
And everybody was celebrating, and you were being carried off.
And I was in the walking centre, and everyone was celebrating.
Is that too?
But actually, another part of the story, it was a 6-hour wait. So I actually went to work, coached at 6 o'clock in the morning, got a break, went back to the RVI at 9:30.
Never.
And the bloke and the fella went, "I can't believe that you've actually let it go this long." He went, "How you just been resting?" I went, "No, I've been to work." He just says there's a massive step in your Achilles. He went, "It's totally gone. We're going to have to send you down for their training." It was 90% ruptured. It was just holding on by a few little strands.
It's horrifying.
But they tend not to try and get you in for operations now to decrease the chances of infection.
Yeah.
So obviously the footballers and stuff like that get all the high end.
If you're on 100 grand a week, you can probably afford that kind of treatment. I'm guessing.
That's it, and they pay for all the footballers have their own surgeons and stuff like that, don't they? So they obviously he got his sewn back together, and but when mine knit itself back together, it knit itself together slightly twisted. So it's a horrible thing. It's one of them things. Oh, you just get on with it.
Yeah, but it's what a memory. I mean, it's just, to me, it's like sweet and sour. Immediately, it's like, we won!
That was literally what it was. I mean, you get your 3 whistles, you do, and I've jumped up, bang, and no sooner had he finished, the referee stopped blowing the whistle.
You were done.
I was hovering, yeah.
Done, man.
That was it. I couldn't believe it.
What a story. Good stuff. Thank you for coming on, Mark.
Yeah,
great to hear from you. Bye-bye. Mark there in Cox Lodge. What about that? Getting a lot of worse pains. We've tried ringing Tony Catley back to get the stuff, the cherry stuff that he was using for his gout. Mad Dog McNair needs it. If you remembered, and I must admit, because I haven't got gout, I'll let that word and the phrase of the cherry liquid vanish from my mind. If any of you have written it down or remember it, do tell. Mad Dog McNair also says, and he sent a picture. I had an alien-type growth on my left index finger, and every now and then I'd catch it and take the top off, and jelly-like stuff oozed out. Went to the doctors. They said it needs removing, not the finger, the lump. I'm glad I didn't get the letter for the appointment date and how they're going to remove it. I went in 2 hours after the call, said, I don't know, just take it off. They stuck a needle in the base of my finger, and I felt it going up and up my finger, the needle that is, so it could be numbed. Started pressing on the growth, and I could feel it. So another needle again, tip of my finger, numb from top to bottom. After the 5th time, I screamed at the surgeon to just cut the damn thing off, because the needles were actually worse than the pain of the growth. The growth had rooted to my bone and had to be scraped off. Once done, the surgeon says in 30 years, it's never taken 5 needles to numb a finger. And then he sends me a picture of the sewn-up digit. Maybe it's just a middle finger, and he was using it as an excuse. Let me have it. No, I think it's the 3rd finger. Yeah, I think it's not the middle finger, the one next to it, if you know what I mean. Not the forefinger, the other one. I think it's that one. Anyway, it's sewn up and looks nasty. But thanks for sharing, all the same. Liam is with us, and he's in Salford. Hiya, Liam.
Hey, Alan. How's it going, mate?
Good, man. Thank you kindly for calling. How can we help you?
So, Alan, I'm in my final year of university now. As you say, I'm calling from Salford, so obviously I'm a Salford Uni student.
Gotcha.
I'm in my final year. I'm doing television and radio. I'm a big sports fan. I'm doing a sports documentary for your final project, and I'm just looking for a few words of advice and just a few words of wisdom from your kind self.
What, on how to get into business? It's tougher now than it has ever been. That I'm not saying that to put you off, just want you to be realistic, because a lot of the radio stations have all networked most things, so that means there's fewer vacancies in real terms. If I were in your shoes, what I'd be doing now, I would be applying to your local radio stations maybe to get a bit of experience working on their news desks. Quite often they do take people on for 3 months and 6 months, and if you can get a bit of that kind of experience under your belt, you could also apply to your local TV stations and say, look, I'm just qualifying. Can you give me any experience? Can I work for you for 2-3 months just to see how well we take it? And on top of that, the thing that you should be doing, you're doing this project. And what is it, a sporting feature, is it?
So, I'm doing an audio documentary, sort of like a podcast about a football club in the Greater Manchester area.
Right.
So, it's basically about this, the manager of the club. It's his first job in charge, so I'm sort of just following his journey in sort of how he's been doing in his first job. And obviously, because everything that's going on in the world, it's made it a lot more difficult. So just seeing how that sort of played on his mind and how it sort of affected the team as well.
Right. If I was doing that, and it sounds like it is something you can get your teeth into, I would also be, maybe even if you've just got to get him on a telephone, ask him questions like, his childhood, what his parents did, how did they feel when he started doing his first job, which probably wasn't what he's doing now. It would have been something in the real world, so to speak. And all of that stuff's interesting. How somebody got to a point where they could take over a club for the first time. How did that happen? And if you can, talk to other players that he played with before he got his management position. Because, did you ever think he would be manager? What was he like as a player? Was it obvious that he had leadership qualities? It's just, a lot of people do stuff and it's all surface. It's superficial. And I know the world now seems to be filled with this is, coming up next. Do you know what I mean? There's an awful lot of, I class that as nout. There's an awful lot of nout going around. So if you can give substance, it'll always get you a little bit further than the people that just look on the surface. Take it home and find out what do people think of him now. Not just the people that like him, probably his team, the team that he picked. What do the fans think? What do the people think? And if knock on a few doors, and if people don't go and support that team, Well, you just live 100 yards away. Why don't you? You do know this guy. And you can make something really interesting. And ask him daft questions that people traditionally wouldn't ask him. It can be as big as you choose to make it. But once you've done that, look at what you're going to do next. And it doesn't have to be it can be a podcast. It could be something you put out on YouTube. And
of course,
because a lot of that kind of stuff, get a camera or a mobile phone that's got a decent picture on it. You can do anything. You can do absolutely anything. And hey, if people don't hire you, you can make money yourself doing this kind of stuff if you're good enough. And you've got to want it and you've got to live it. It's not good enough just playing at it because you think, oh, well, that would be fun. This is going to be your living, hopefully, for the rest of your days. Be the best at it. That's my advice, anyway. There you go.
Hey, cheers, Alan.
No
I
worries.
really hope so. I really hope this all sort of works out okay.
I hope so too.
You sort of say almost like an open forum with the questions that I should ask.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you see, when people do stuff, document, even, when I watch stuff, even on Match of the Day, it's by the numbers. If you look at local television, the biggest problem they have is they do stuff by numbers. All of the local TV channels, I guarantee, watch in future, next time you watch your local TV, they're going to talk to a politician. So you'll get a film of the politician walking in the street. And they'll just ask him, can you walk down that street? And they'll film him walking down that street. The next clip, he'll be talking to the camera. And if anybody dies, sit on a settee and look at photographs and look miserable. It's all by the numbers. And the only way I think that we can proceed in radio and in television is by doing all the stuff that nobody else is doing. Make it bigger, make it more interesting, make it fascinating. If I was doing a football documentary on anybody, I'd say, what kind of music do you like? Is there any music that really inspires you when you go on a pitch? And, I've had people in the world of football say, oh, I put Eminem, Lose Yourself, gets me, and I listen to some rap music or whatever the hell it is. It's just people are interested in all that other stuff, especially if it's somebody that's connected to their team, whoever that happens to be. I just think that it can be as big as you like and it doesn't have to be just the same old. Make it interesting. Make it so that somebody who doesn't know the team, doesn't like the team, maybe is even an opposing team, could watch and really enjoy. What's the biggest mistake you've made? What's the worst injury you've ever had? All of these things. Oh, blow. That's fascinating. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Are you married? You got any children? What do they think? Do you want them to grow up and be, hey, you can take it anyway. And to me, I think it's really exciting, the place you're at. As I say, it's hard to get gigs, but get a gig and be great. That's the tip. It's not a question of being clever and, finding a way to manipulate your way into a job. Be great, and they have to hire you.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, of course.
No worries.
That's put a smile on my face, Helen.
Good luck to you, Liam. Make it happen.
Of course, thank you very much.
You're welcome, mate. There you go. Sounds simple. It's hard. It takes a lot of work, a lot of practice, but we wish him well. Quick piece of music, then we're going to be talking to Adam, who is in Langley Park. Oh, hang on a second. This time, it's David Gray. We love David Gray. We might as well ask him, what's the worst thing that happened to his buddy? How have you suffered, David?
Well, I had a troublesome start to life. I had pyloric stenosis when I was just as soon as I was born.
What is that?
It's when the muscle at the top of your stomach won't open.
Right.
So after a week, I couldn't even have water.
Mm.
So they had to cut me open. So I've got this huge scar down here.
Right.
And it
Which
must
was
have been
only
a
a
bit
little scar when you were born, but now it's huge.
Well, they had to. Yeah, it's big because it's stretched with me.
Uh-huh.
So that was how things started. So that must have been a bit difficult for my mum and dad.
Yeah.
So they sorted that out. Now I've had a few football cuts on my knee, cuts on my leg.
But no major accidents.
No, I've never broken a bone.
That's good.
So
he's lived in a bubble.
I don't know what's going on. Unbreakable.
That's the next album. Unbreakable David Gray. I can see that one coming.
to guarantee that would happen.
I think if we follow the roadmap and the supply chains that we've set out and that I've articulated, along with the backup that we've got, because we've got the volume of doses, 360 million, we've also got 7 suppliers, we ought to be able to deliver on that.
There have been more than 38,500 more confirmed cases of coronavirus in the UK over the last 24 hours. Another 671 deaths have been recorded. Labour's warning cutting universal credit in April would be devastating for families already struggling to get by. The party thinks changing the current £20 a week increase of the benefit will also damage the country's economic recovery from the pandemic. Elsewhere, the former head of the FBI, James Comey, says he hopes outgoing US President Donald Trump never holds office again. His 4-year term will come to an end on Wednesday when Joe Biden will be sworn in. In sport, Manchester City are just 2 points off the top of the Premier League with a game in hand after thrashing Crystal Palace 4-0. They've put pressure on leaders Manchester United, who drew 0-0 with champions Liverpool, but City boss Pep Guardiola is refusing to get carried away by talk of the title.
It was a weird season. Everyone can beat everyone, so it's difficult every game, but happy, especially for the players, for another good performance.
Tottenham beat bottom side Sheffield United 3-1. Rangers remain on course for the Scottish Premiership title despite a 1-1 draw at Motherwell. And England's cricketers start the final day of the first test against Sri Lanka later, needing just 36 more runs to win. From Sky News, I'm Anna Bates.
Thank you, Anna. Alan Robson with you, Greatest Hits Radio North East. And if you were listening just before the show, you'll have heard Misha Paris with her soul food songs. To pay tribute, because the show's really good, we're going to be picking 200 of the best soul food songs. We need your help with that if you fancy going to our website and checking it out. One of mine that I just can't hear enough, I love James Brown, so I'd probably go with I Got You, or maybe It's a Man's World. Papa got a brand new bag. Love all of that. Silly stuff. Silly but cool. 0191 488 3188. Have your pick. That's what it's all about. Anyway, let's get to it. Second clue for the competition to win you a Night Owl mug. The first clue: Tamla Motown greatest hits star who was very superstitious. Ransom Wall. Second clue: this greatest hitster had a backing band called the Pips. This greatest hitster had a backing band called the Pips. So you've got 2 Geet famous people so far, 2 more Geet famous people coming, and then you've got to tell me what links them all together if you are incredibly wise. Right, 2 more clues to come. Get ready for it. We have, I think it's a more pain we're going to give you now. Adam's with us in Langley Park. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Alan. Hope you're well.
I am good, thank you kindly. So, tell me your tale.
Yeah, so it's just another pain story, really. I agree with the previous talker that was on toothache.
Yeah, it's awful.
Absolutely horrible. I had a wisdom tooth that I smashed while eating a biscuit boost, of all things.
Oh,
I'm sure other teeth-shattering chocolate bars are available. But it just took the crown off completely, and you could see the root and everything. And it never really hurt it for so long. It just went on for ages and ages, and just like a dull ache, and I was aware of it.
Yeah.
But then after, you're probably talking years, mind, a couple of years, it would just sort of flare up day by day, and it felt like there was a hot coal just sitting inside my jawbone.
But everybody says that if everybody tries to avoid the whole wisdom tooth scenario, because I've never fully understood why as soon as a dentist sees a wisdom tooth, they go, must pull that one out, because you don't do that with any other tooth. You don't say, there's a canine, got to get rid of that. It just seems the wisdom tooth, whether you need it or not, if it doesn't hurt, you would think, well, I'm not going to mess with it. It's all right. It's not doing any harm back there. But in your case, if you've lost the top of it, why didn't you just get it sorted straight away?
Because honestly, Alan, I've had a crippling fear of dentists ever since I was a tiny little boy.
Right.
And I never, ever went to a dentist, ever. and it actually took up until this thing with me wisdom tooth and I was probably about 35 at the time. I was like, right, you're going to have to just go and get this sorted, man. Just man up and go. I was volunteering for a charity at the time,
right?
And I was on my way back from an event about 1, 2 in the morning on the A1, and I was shouting out in pain in the car. I was like, I couldn't make it go away. Like, it wasn't just coming and going anymore. It was just constant. And I was coming up to the Angel of the North, and I thought, do you know what? Like, I never, ever go to hospital. Like, I've been to hospital twice in my life. I've turned up with A&E. First was when I was like 16 and I accidentally impaled my leg with a Stanley knife. And the second was this night. I seen the Angel of the North, and I was like, I'm going to have to turn off and go to the QE here. And I turned up, and I took my place in the line, and, you know, waited in the waiting room, and I had to take myself out my chair and round the corner, and I was crouching down, like, grabbing my face with the pain of it. And eventually someone came round and said, like, is it Adam? Are you all right? I was like, no, I'm not all right.
Did you do anything? Because hospitals have a tendency to say, oh, you need the dental hospital, you're going to have to go.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, I seen the doctor, and it was just like what the previous caller with toothache said. They can't really do anything with it. They were like, we can't do anything. I mean, like...
Can they not give you some painkillers? Oh, codeine.
Yeah, they went like, here's some codeine, but it's not really going to help. You need to get to a dentist.
You could have, I mean, realistically, you could have easily have picked up codeine anywhere, but you thought if you go to hospital, maybe they'll give you some morphine.
I thought maybe like an emergency dentist would just spring out of, I don't know, a back room with a pair of pliers and be like, right, sit down.
Is that what happened when you got to the dental hospital then?
Well, I got an appointment with... where did I go? No, I went home,
right,
and then I got an appointment the next day with a place,
right,
and I cannot remember exactly where it was, but it was down sort of like the Horton or like that neck of the woods area, and you would drive by, you would never know it was a dental surgery. It was just, you were driving down a terraced street, and there was just tiny little signs saying dentist, and I went in, and
you was ready.
And they did the do. They were waiting for me, and they took it out, and yeah, I mean, like, that was when I got over my fear of dentistry, because it was like, well, I've got to do something about it.
I mean, did you end up, because everybody says not everybody, but an awful lot of people that have had wisdom tooth stories, and one of my partner's exes got it done, and she ended up looking like a hamster with big panda eyes. I mean, it really was unpleasant what happened to her after the teeth were pulled. Did you have anything like that, or were you just so glad to have it done?
No, I was quite fortunate, actually. They were sort of in two minds whether they were going to have to cut me gums open and actually, like, remove part of my jawbone.
Oh, cheapers.
But he said, the dentist said, look, I can refer you for that, but I don't really think it's necessary. We can probably just get it done here today if you're willing to get it done. And I was like, just get it done.
Yeah, you get it out.
And he pulled out, you know, what he could. He got his little silver hook and hooked out the rest. It was difficult. It took a little while, and it wasn't too great. Like, it wasn't the most fun day. But yeah, he managed to do it without, like, slicing me gums open or anything. And then
I'm
what
tempted.
he could and sort of said, like, if it, you know, it should heal over.
Right.
You could get an infection. You might have to come back, and thankfully, though, I never did. So,
did you get that thing? Because I had not that long ago, literally about 2.5 years ago, I needed a tooth out, one of the big back jobs, and it was a bloody wrestling match. In fact, they wouldn't let me leave the surgery until they'd got the blood off my face, which is not what you want to hear. And it took 40-odd minutes in a chair, which is like, I've had fights that didn't last close to that length of time. Do you know what I mean? However, the thing that happened is, he says, I've got as much of it as I can. Now, you know, you mentioned the hook thing.
Yeah.
I had an awful lot of the hook thing. Not pretty. But the other thing that happened was when it kind of grew over the If somebody's just tuned in, this goes, you know when me hole filled in?
Standard night out.
I know. Guilty as charged. However, when me hole filled in, little bits of extra tooth that he hadn't got kept swimming to the surface, and you'd get a little bit of sharp stuff.
Tiny little shards just kept popping out.
And then you've got to do that twiddly, oop, it's out kind of thing.
Yeah, and that lasts for a couple of months, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Oh, but you see, you start eating something and you think, well, the hole's filling up. It's going to be all right. Oh, gee, what? And then you can't eat because everything you eat touches the little wobbly, the little sharp thing. Is it just men? Because I'm sure women don't go on like this. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's a big deal for us because we haven't got that big pain threshold we keep hearing
we
about.
Don't have a vagina. Give us our teeth.
I wouldn't have phrased it like that, but I'm glad you did. Adam, thank you very much for calling. All the best.
Thank you. You too, Alan.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye. How do we get ourselves in these situations? Few other things. DJ Bar's been on Timbo. He says, the worst pain I've had was toothache in a wisdom tooth that had hardly come through, and they had to dig it out, and that took a couple of dental sessions. And he also says, cherry capsules. Mad Dog McNair needed to know the gout thing. He's a sufferer. Cherry capsules. You can get strong ones from Amazon or Holland and Barrett. And at the present moment, till about the 20-something, Holland and Barrett have got a penny sale. And so if you're getting the cherry capsules, get 2 lots and you get the second lot for a penny. There you go. Just something I know about. Angela, I fell down caravan steps, twisted me foot, didn't go to hospital same day, thought it was just a sprained ankle. The following day, I went to hospital because it was swollen like an elephant's foot. They did an x-ray and said it wasn't broken and it would just heal in its own time. I drove the car, I went to work, I hobbled around on it for a week. Then I got a call from the hospital to say go to A&E. They'd looked at the x-ray again and I'd fractured the bones in me foot. Had to put a pot on, no weight bearing to prevent any further damage. On crutches, 6 weeks. I had been in agony and everybody else thought I was faking it. There you go. Shall we continue? I think we shall. Stephen, Henley Hall. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Tell me your tales of woe.
So, Alan, in July 2014, I was at a barbecue with a friend of mine.
Right.
And he had a fire pit dug into the back garden of the house.
Oh, wow.
And we're all stood there. We had the burgers, the sausages, the steaks, and all the typical barbecue stuff we have on.
Yeah.
And I'd stood up. I'd had a couple of bottles of Budweiser, you know what I mean? Nothing serious.
You weren't in the serious place yet? Okay.
No, far from it. And there was people scattered all over the garden, and one of the lads shouted at us, and I turned around and I tripped on a tree stump.
Oh.
And I pretty much just done a forward roll straight through the fire pit.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah, and I come out the other side, and I stood up, and everybody was running towards us, panicking, and I was stood thinking, what's going on? And next thing I know, stood in front of the kitchen sink, and there's people got me hands under the cold water and splashing water all over us.
You were on fire?
I was melted. I was pretty much melted, and then
jeepers.
Obviously one of my pals called the ambulance service. They turned out. I had a brand new pair of rock climbing trousers on that cost an absolute arm and a leg. The ambulance service turned up and promptly cut them off. I was devastated that my new trousers had been cut.
Were you in any pain, or had your body frozen it for you? You know, because sometimes the adrenaline kicks in and you're not really aware of the pain of it.
I think the adrenaline kicked in because as I was still at the sink, all the skin off my left hand was hanging down, and all I remember myself saying to my friend, get us some scissors, I've got to get this skin off.
Oh!
I've got to go to work on Monday. You know? And like I say, the ambulance turned up, and I was rushed to what I know is Dryburn Hospital. I think it's
University Hospital now. We still all call it Dryburn, don't worry.
Yeah, I was took to Dryburn because my friend lives in Durham.
Yeah.
And I was taken to Dryburn. The doctors at Dryburn looked at me and said, "We can't do nothing for you." And I was lying bandaged up like a mummy, bless us, thinking, "Hold on a second, what's this mean? We're going to transfer you to the burns unit of the RVI." Well, until that point, Alan, I'd never heard of the burns unit. Nobody ever knew, and none of my family had been there. So I was took there, and I was placed on a ward, and I was in there for 21 days.
Jeepers.
It was absolutely excruciating. Now, the doctor come and see me on the morning. He says, "Oh, Stephen," he says, "I must tell you, a burn like this takes 48 hours to fully develop." Well, it just sends panic stations through you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He says, "I may need to take your left hand off." I was like, "I'm sorry, doctor, but I need that. I've had it all these years. I'd like to keep a hold of it." Do you know what I mean? It's part of who I am.
Absolutely.
You know, and I was in there, and now they said, "Oh, we'll need to change your dressings every day."
Yeah.
And I ended up what they call degloving on my left hand. I'd lost all the skin. I'd damaged part of my right hand, both of my knees, bits of my forearms, bits of me sort of shins, if you like.
Yeah.
It was all burnt. And I did 21 days, and every after the first day when they changed my dressings, I passed out with a pain. As soon as they removed all the bandages, I was on Oromorph, codeine, ibuprofen, paracetamol, the Entonox, the laughing gas stuff there. And I still blacked out with a pain.
Yeah.
I can remember it like it was yesterday.
You never forget the worst pains. That's what we're talking about. Did you end up returning to your gorgeous form, or have you got shiny bits?
I've got shiny bits. I mean, I was quite fortunate. I've got skin. I had 5 skin grafts. 2 on my left hand, 2 on my left forearm, and the whole of my left kneecap all belongs to me thigh.
Right. And because then they've peeled a load of skin off your thigh, so you got another wound round there as well.
I've got a sort of landing strip, if you like, at the top of my left thigh. But I have nothing but total admiration for all the staff in the Royal Victoria Infirmary in Newcastle.
In the burns unit.
Honest to God, in the burns unit. I've said ever since, if I ever need to go back in the hospital for anything, I want to go back to the burns unit, just because the level of care the staff in there deliver to the patients is absolutely phenomenal.
Well, we're glad you survived it, and you've still got both hands.
I've still got both hands on, and yes.
Good man. Hey, Stephen, good on you. Thanks for your call. Gives you all the collywobbles. Thanks for ringing in.
It does. Take care.
You too, man. Bye-bye. Oh, the burn thing. You may remember I was in the press early doors of my career I had a house fire, and I thought it would be a good idea, because my chip pan would not go out. It was a German chip pan, big cauldron full of hot fat on fire. I thought it would be a good idea, as I couldn't put it out with a wet towel like the teacher, to pick it up and carry it out and throw it in the snow. And, of course, as soon as I lifted it up, it set my head on fire, and I ended up in hospital with the burns. I've got a few shiny bits too. Horrible. Burns are nasty damn things. But I wonder what the worst pain of Mark Knopfler is.
What's the worst thing that's happened to Mark Knopfler's body? And I'm talking operations or accidents or anything that caused you great pain, blood and gore.
Yeah, well, almost every other month on a bicycle. I mean, chipped elbows, pedals off, fall in the middle of the road in front of trucks, hit walls at full speed, But
is that your fitness regime? Is it on the bike?
Well, I'm still trying to get on a bike, yeah. But I've been fairly lucky in terms of all that. The worst thing I did to my body was smoke cigarettes, which we all did as kids at school and stuff, and not all of us, but the daft ones all did. And I managed to give it up a few years ago, which I'm pretty proud of, actually.
Was that tough?
I didn't think I could, but I went to this smashing woman who just chatted.
Right.
Chatted, and he teaches you it's a mental addiction, and all that. So I managed to shake that off, and I think that's really helped, because back in 96 or whenever it was, I was doing Golden Heart, and I could hardly sing. It was pulling me back. I could feel it was pulling me back, and but it's been big improvement since then.
Fantastic.
Even the stars are joining in. They all want to play on Greatest Hits Radio Northeast. It is Alan Robson's Night Out. Thanks for being with us. Troubled times, we're trying our best to forget about them. So do one thing. Pick up your telephone and give us a call. You will get onto the show tonight. 0191 488 3188. Tell us about your greatest pain, or if you want to talk about any of the other stuff that we have covered. We shall get into that too. We got 2 clues in, more clues to come. Alison from Anfield Plain. Hello, Alison.
Hi, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for ringing in. What's your story then?
Well, I was ringing to tell you about my funny story that happened this week with a click and collect, but then when I've listened to the callers about the toothache stories, it's just like, I've got to share this with you first.
Oh, go on in.
Women do have problems at the dentist as well, because I've had them.
Right. Oh, well, what
It's
happened then?
horrific.
What was so bad?
Well, I had to have 2 teeth out.
Right.
So I went and they started to take the tooth out. So they started to numb us up. And I kept saying, I can still feel it. I can still feel it. And at this point, like, I was screaming, saying, I can still feel it. And they were pulling and tugging. And I was screaming in agony because it just hadn't numbed up at all. So 14 injections later, and they were saying, right, we've either got to just get this out or, like, we've got to do something here. So I said to them, there was 3 of them in the room, and I said, just hold me down and pull it out. Because I'd had, like, an abscess.
Did you say that on your honeymoon as well? No, I'm sorry. Anyway, so 14 injections, though, that would put out a horse.
Yeah, well, it didn't numb it at all. And in the end, they had to literally, I had a nurse on one arm, a nurse on the other arm, and the dentist just basically put a knee on my shoulder and pulled the tooth out while I hit the roof and screamed.
Yeah.
But then it gets better. Just came out, forgot about that horrific story, and they said, we're not going to do the other one now. We'll do the other one at another time.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, okay. Well, it was at the other side as well. So I went back to the dentist, and it was my normal dentist, not another one. And he was like, right, Alison, I'm going to take this nice and slow. We're going to get it properly numbed up before we do this.
Right.
I'm like, okay. So, and he's brilliant. I can't fault him at all. I've had a fear of dentists for years.
Yeah.
And he is absolutely brilliant.
Good.
And he turned around and he was like, numbing it up. Then he was wiggling it, doing all the things they do. After about an hour and 20 minutes, the tooth was half hanging out, but every time he pulled to pull it out, I felt it. So he was putting the injection straight up inside where he'd pulled the tooth out to try and numb the nerve.
Right.
And he couldn't. So then he put one in the outside to try and numb the nerve that goes up to your head, because he was saying there's obviously, you've got a nerve quite close to the surface.
Right.
Couldn't. So after about an hour and 40 minutes, he gave up.
Unbelievable.
So the tooth was half in, half out.
So what do you do, though? You can't just leave it.
It did. He just left it. And he said, it'll either drop out, or he says, we'll book you in and we'll get you down somewhere where they're going to just knock you out. And then you'll be knocked out and have it out like that way. And that was so much better.
But to be honest, if you've got something... Because I can remember the times when, you know, when you've got baby teeth and they start to come out and you do the waggle thing. And and the more you waggle, the closer it is to falling out. And eventually you go, oh, I've waggled it so much. Here it is, my fingers. Everything you eat hits the tooth that's half in and half out. Well, that must have been
It was horrible. Yeah. It was awful. So that was my dentist story. But the reason I was ringing you first off was to tell you about my funny story about we had to buy a car this week.
Right.
Because my car broke last week.
Oh, blimey. Right.
Rob starts his new job in beginning of February, so we needed a new car.
Right.
So trying to buy a car without being able to see them, without being able to test drive them.
Oh, dear.
Without anything, it's the weirdest experience ever. I can't believe that we've actually done it and it arrives on Wednesday.
Right.
But the garage that we went to, I'm not going to name the garage because it was kind of a genuine mistake, but the funniest thing, they were up in Inverness, so they weren't down here.
Right.
But it's a big chain. And I said that you talk to the salesman and they give you videos so that you ask them what you want them to video. So he sent me this video of the car and it was really, really shoddy, wasn't very good. So I sent him a message back and said, can you send me a video of the engine with it running and have a good, kind of keep the camera on to give me a good look of the engine?
Right.
Well, we decided that it's a smart car that I'm buying.
All right,
So he obviously had never dealt with a smart car before. So I don't know whether anybody will know, a smart car engine's in the boot.
Right, okay.
They're not actually in the front. So this salesman started the video, pulled up, sorted the bonnet out, which takes a bit of getting off. Well, the washer bottle and the fluid bottle is in the front. So there is something in the front.
But that's it?
That's it. And he proceeded to give me this about 14-minute video on how compact and how fantastic of a job Smart Car have done to get the engine so efficiently into this small little space while I was absolutely killing myself. So he literally went on and on and on. He was like, and I'm sure that this part here is like where everything happens, and like it's such a little compact car, and Smart have done brilliant. Mercedes has done a brilliant job, but we were just in fifth. So I had to ring him back and say, is there any chance I can actually have a video of the engine? Because the engine's situated like in the back of the car.
And he's a salesman, he didn't know that.
Yeah. But when I rang him back, it was the sales manager that I got through to.
Oh, right.
So this poor guy had to ring me back and go, I'm really sorry. I've never sold a Smart car before. I'm going to go and do you another video now.
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely hilarious.
It was a smart salesman they needed, not a smart car.
Yeah, so the gamble that we took, like we actually ended up buying that car.
Right.
And we took a gamble to kind of get it down here and it be okay. And so
has it worked out? Is it all right? Or?
I don't know. It arrives Wednesday.
Oh, blimey, it's still on its way.
It's still on its way. So I'll come on next week and tell you whether the car's all right or not, or whether I'm buried in some hole somewhere. But yeah,
because the whole smart car idea, I think, is really good. I was in one of the European capitals, and I saw a thing called a Twizy. Don't know whether you've ever come across them.
Fab,
and in France, you can park them on the path.
Yeah.
Outside a shop, like you would. If you were on a bike, you'd like chain it to a lamppost or something. And I'm walking down the street and I'm seeing like 8 or 9 of these. And if anybody hasn't seen them, they're like a motorbike with a roof, really. Like a 3-wheel motorbike with a bit of a roof on it. And I didn't know this, but apparently David Guetta, the singer, DJ person, was involved with the manufacture and invention of them. Because when he was in Ibiza, they needed something to cover people up if it was raining when they were coming home from gigs and stuff. So the Twizy was invented. So the little smart, I'm not going to drive very far on. This is the weird thing. You're not going to drive very far in a smart car because they're designed for short distances. Let's buy one from Inverness. What?
It's getting transported down.
Right. I was going to say, the bloke probably set off last Tuesday and he's still on his way.
But it's because I wanted a particular car.
Right.
So I've gone for like a white one with all the red accents and everything, and it's a convertible, and it's just
I didn't even know you could get a convertible smart car.
Yeah, it's convertible. And it's because they're built the way they are, you take all like the roof rails off, and literally the whole top is off.
Wow. Hey, well, let's
found out as well.
What's
you
that?
can park a smart car straight onto the curb. So like, like how you park a car sideways onto the curb. So yeah, you can literally pull it in and park it straight onto the curb because it's the width of a normal car. So its length is the width of a normal car.
How about that?
It's going to be so cool. I'm going to have so much fun.
Oh, your neighbours are going to hate you. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Alison, thank you very much for coming on.
Okay, it's lovely to speak to you.
Great to hear from you.
See you later. Bye.
Now, everybody's going to be able to say, when you see that car travelling around, you're all going to know that was Alison. 01914 488 3188. There is a lot of stuff for me to share with you tonight. And we were talking about worst pains. We've got a few of them. And one of them is just, I talked about that ingrowing hair thing.
So my bum abscess, I was totally laying in bed on my stomach and could not move at all. Antibiotics weren't working. By the Sunday night, I had called out a doctor from the medical centre. I cried for 3 solid weeks with this thing. But before he managed to land at the house, this thing burst. My partner was downstairs, Alan. I was in bed, and he could honestly smell it downstairs.
Smell it?
Yes. He brought a bucket up. We had kitchen towels, swabs, toilet rolls, and it filled a bucket 3 times.
You're joking.
I'm not joking, Alan. Not at all.
3 buckets of pus?
Yeah, that was at least it. It swelled so much that it had gone round to me left hip. And if I placed my hand on my hip, it was actually squeezing the stuff out of my bum. It was that full.
And don't think that that's the worst. The worst is coming, but not until we've heard about, well, men always have trouble with testicles.
She was trying to cut the stitch.
Oh, my
out
goodness.
in my right one.
one. Well, of course, and it just didn't work because the hairs were growing back. Because beforehand I was shaved.
Sure.
And then the hairs were growing back. So she says, and I was hitting the ceiling by then. She says, I just can't do this. The young girl who was a practice nurse was beside herself, right?
Yeah.
I said, so what am I going to do? She says, you'll have to take warm baths and just try and prise the right one between your two thumbs. And to get the stitch out. And then after about a week or so of these warm baths, it eventually happened. And then I put a stitch in a little sample bottle, and when I went back to work, I showed everybody at work, so it was something to go through that,
But blimey, you shouldn't have had to do your own surgery at the end.
Well, they couldn't do it with a scalpel. You know what I mean?
How about that? Now, talking about, we say that sometimes some ways that people hurt themselves, impossible, incredible. Heard nothing like this.
And as I fell back, I got impaled on one of the taps.
Oh, what, a tap went into you?
The tap went right into me.
Oh, jeepers.
And it was a designer tap, and it was like a hook type tap. So
you were stuck?
When it went in, I couldn't get back out.
Oh, what?
But it never actually went. It did go in somewhere, but it didn't go in anywhere like through my skin. It went through the rectum.
Oh, no! Oh, dear me. Was it the hot one or the cold one?
It was the cold.
Oh, dear. So you had to tap up the bum. Oh, my goodness. So it was a hooky thing, so once you're actually on the tap, you can't get off the tap. No. So what did they do? Did they have to actually unscrew or saw the tap off?
It was quite embarrassing at the time. All I can say is I like how Northumbria Fire Department actually coped with that. And I'm just glad that there was no TV cameras there.
No. Oh, my goodness. Has it damaged your aperture?
It had for about a year, but after that, everything's fine now, and I'm going regular as clockwork.
Right.
But at the time...
When you go to the loo, do you run hot or cold?
They're both really, Alan. At the time it was.
Oh, dear. I've never heard of anything like that before.
We're going to get some more of your worst pains next. 0191 488 3188. We are back after this.
Alan Robson's Night Owls.
The phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest Hits Radio.
I always think it's great fun. We try not to ever ban anybody from taking part, but we had some turkey on who was insulting other people without having the guts or the testicles to actually come onto the show themselves. So he has been banned, and it was really interesting because, you know, he had a pop at some people on one of our streams for not being bright and intelligent, and then ended up calling Tony next door the C word, spelling it with a K. So that kind of tells you everything you need to know there. We have scraped smarter things off the bottom of our shoes. 0191 488 3188. Let's keep playing and get your call in right now. 0191 488 3188. We have next Adam. He's in North Shields. Let's go there, see what the crack is. Hi, Adam.
Hello, Alan. All right.
Yes, good, mate. What's your story for us tonight?
Well, I'm a bit shocked no one's been ringing up telling you about this already, because this is, if you say a scale of 1 to 10, this is about 100.
Oh, go for it. What is it?
Cramp in your calf.
Cramp. You instantly kick anything in front of you, don't you, if you get cramp in your calf? That's what happens. What causes cramp then? Do you know?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think anyone knows, really. It's just one of them things that happens.
Yeah, because when you get it doesn't matter where you are, where you're sitting. You've either got to stand up and do that little dance thing, or you just go, and your legs
I've asked a few people, like, how bad's the cramp? Mine is so bad, and like I can't walk sometimes for 3 days and stuff on it properly. It's unbelievable.
It's that bad. Hell's bells.
So bad, I don't understand it. It's I've broke my leg in 2 places, but I was only 2 then. But that was a freak accident. My mum, I was on the phone with my mum before, and she said, "Make sure you tell him about that." She wants to tell him when the paramedics come. I wet my pants and stuff.
No, leave that one alone. But the thing about cramp, you know, when you if you play football and you haven't played for a while, after about an hour, all of a sudden you'll be lying down on the pitch with somebody like pushing your football boot up towards your knee to try and get rid of the cramp. But it's the ones that happen usually when you're lying in bed. So you're not actually doing anything to give you cramp.
Lying down, innit?
And sometimes I've had that cramp where you feel like you've dislocated one of your toes, and your toe feels like it's wedged up, and you're standing up and you're stamping on on your own feet.
I'm so glad I've never had it driving yet, because I don't think I'd be ringing you if I had.
Right.
It's that bad. The broken leg thing when I was 2.
Mm-hmm.
This is a freak accident. I went to put a balloon out,
right?
Like to pop a balloon.
Yeah.
And I was only 2. The balloon, the pressure hit my shoulder, and my leg snapped on my shoulder in 2 places.
Oh, what?
So I had a few balloons as well when I was younger.
Wow, how about that? Amazing. Hey, good stuff, Adam. Thank you for coming on. Good to hear from you. Thanks, man. Bye-bye. I've had several emails here from various people. Oliver, Rachel, Annette and Tony all saying, you mentioned the thing about suicides. I think it would be really interesting to hear. If I've got time, I will play those bits for you. And I thought I'd have a look to see how many we've got on file. We've got hundreds of potential suicides, and some people that have been bleeding and trying to blow up their own house, made the front page of a newspaper on one occasion. But I will try and sort that if you can. Meanwhile, Simon is here from Peterlee. Hello, Simon.
Hello, mate. All right?
I'm good. What can we do for you?
Well, rather than COVID, I wanted to say a bit about Brexit.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just reading on the BBC News feed a few days ago that a lorry driver that was going into the EU,
right,
he had his cheese and ham sandwich confiscated by the authorities because under the Brexit regulations now, that cold cuts and dairy products are now not allowed into the EU from the UK.
Yeah, and trust me, that one tiny little fact will cause delay after delay after delay.
Well, you know, I spent most of my working life in freight forwarding, so I know how customs and excise, etc., works. And believe you me, we are better in the club than we are out of the club.
Well, it's a bit late for that.
It is. And it does make me laugh because people that have voted for Brexit, sovereignty and sovereign nation and all the rest of it. And, don't get me wrong, that the EU it needed reform.
Sure.
But we really were better in than we're out.
Well, the thing with it, if you look at what Boris has done, he's sang the song of "We are now victorious, we're now independent." But if you look at the rules that he signed up to with them, you know, to get deals so that we can still trade with this massive group, he hasn't done half of the things that he promised to do. The Brexiteers, if they look into what we've actually got, we're still linked to them when it comes to crime, still linked to them in about 1,000 other ways. We haven't, you know, everybody was saying, if we secure Brexit, we're going to cut all ties. We're going to be independent again. We're going to look after ourselves. We're not at all. I mean, in fact, we had to totally surrender when it came to fisheries and stuff. You know,
I was actually going to say that. I was seen on our Time Tees news a couple of days ago. There was a bloke that owned a fish dealership, if you want, from Whitby a few days ago, and he said we're 30 to 40% down on trade because of the negative Brexit deal.
Yeah.
And yet Boris was banging on about, we're going to take back our fisheries, etc., etc. Now, I'm old enough to remember back in the 70s, the Icelandic fish wars.
Yeah, the cod wars, they called them back in the day.
Yeah, the cod wars. And then he's put 4 Navy ships on standby to do exactly the same thing, which makes me laugh. Haven't we moved on?
Well, the interesting thing was, and I remember Boris saying this, he's saying, we're going to take 100%. Now, that's a big chunk. It's the chunk. I'm going to take 100% of our fishing grounds back from Europe. Now, that's where he started, and that was one of the things that he stirred people up with. And it hasn't happened. So when he got to the final negotiations, you know, before December ran out, you know, the time ran out, he then says, no, it's going to be 85%. The lowest deal we'll stand for is 85% of our fishing grounds. And then he comes back, we have been victorious, we've finally left. And the fishing folk said, so what kind of percentage have you got? And he says 25%.
Aye.
Well, that's roughly what we had beforehand.
Aye, and then it's only meant to increase about 2.5% over the next 10 years for each year.
Yeah. Yeah, and will it? I wouldn't put money on it. But, hey, bottom line is, the people made their vote. The government got, I presume, the best deal it thought it could get. I just think what's happened here is the Remainers are still miserable because we had to leave, but we've only left halfway. And the Brexiteers, they wanted to leave completely, and we haven't. We've only left halfway. We're kind of like in the same situation, just with a different deal. And you could say, but we're going to save millions because we don't have to pay. We've agreed to pay in loads of other different ways. It's just moving money about. I don't see Brexit being what Brexit was supposed to be. But if people are a Remainer or a Brexiteer, maybe they could ring in and tell me what they think about it.
And in the meantime, it's just a race to the bottom because there is rumours and legislation afoot that workers' rights are going to be devalued, if that's the right word.
We've heard that, and politicians have been swift to say, no, that's not going to happen. But once again, time will tell. I mean, nobody would have thought politically we'd be in the situation that we are with the virus and how Brexit is going to hit us, because that's going to add to whatever COVID harm has been done. So I think time's going to tell. We're not going to know till the whole COVID thing, hopefully, is put to bed and people are no longer at risk. We hope that that's soon. And once that gets out the way, then we'll be able to tell, because with COVID, there's no real... COVID fills the news up until the last 5 minutes when they've got to put in the Brexit bit and sport. And
or then a happy story.
And then a happy story. If they can find a happy story, it would be a start. Hey, but thank you very much for coming on, Simon. Great to hear your views as always.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye. Well, what do you think? 0191 488 3188. Oh, we're getting some crampy things. Thank you very much for all of your crampy things. This one. George from Chopwell. Thank you, George. Lose the sugar from your diet. That will ease cramp. And the shower head. Put that on the affected area and run cold if you've got a cramp. George from Chopwell obviously has tried it on his. And also, Jenny, the best relief for severe cramp is a pack of frozen vegetables, preferably peas, as they're softer than lumpy veg. Works wonders. Loving the show. Take care. Thank you very much indeed for that. Good stuff. Going to play you a little piece of music. We're going to take a break, get back into the news, and then get back to talking to you guys as soon as I possibly can. Make sure you do that call. We want you on before the end of the show. 0191 488 3188. Piece of music I haven't heard in ages. Saw this band live after loving... Everybody knows Manfred Mann. They had loads of hits, far more hits than you'd ever imagined. They were up there with a lot of the supergroups of the 60s. They were amazing. They went into the 70s. And then back end of the 70s, they turned into Manfred Mann's Earth Band. Brilliant. Loved it. Saw them at the City Hall with a support band called Darling. They blew my mind. Thought they were fab. Still do. Love this.
Important to inoculate as many people as possible.
That is what is going to limit the huge transmission problem we have at the moment. We don't have a full lockdown, so there is mixing, there is transmission going on. The numbers are falling, but not quickly enough. The scale up of the vaccine, getting it to as many people as possible is the right thing.
All so-called travel corridors to the UK are closing this morning to try to prevent new variants of COVID-19 entering the country. It means everyone arriving here from 4 a.m. will need to test negative and quarantine. The number of doctors and nurses registering for mental health services last month was nearly double that of the same time last year. NHS leaders believe the pandemic is continuing to affect the well-being of staff. Elsewhere, Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has been detained just as he was trying to return to the country. He spent the last 5 months in Germany recovering from a nerve agent attack. In sport, Manchester United are still the team to catch at the top of the Premier League after their goalless draw with Liverpool at Anfield. But United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer believes they could have done more to try and win the match.
We're a bit disappointed in the performance as well, not just the result, because you have to really turn up. They're a very good side. They've had some injury problems, and we didn't pounce on that opportunity that their injuries gave us.
Manchester City climbed up to second with a 4-0 thrashing of Crystal Palace. Tottenham beat Sheffield United 3-1 and Scottish Premiership leaders Rangers drew 1-1 at Motherwell. And the infamous Donald Trump baby blimp has been picked up by the Museum of London. The inflatable balloon was used during protests in 2019. From Sky News, I'm Anna Bates.
There you go. Yeah, just what we need. An inflatable Donald Trump, as if he wasn't inflated enough. Anyway, let us crack on. Time for a third clue that could win you that Night Owl's mug, if you so desire. Clue number 1 is the Tamla Motown star who was very superstitious. I'll try and say that again in English. The Tamla Motown star who was very superstitious. Okay, a greatest hitster. Another greatest hitster had a backing band called the Pips. So you should have 2 names now. The third clue. This greatest hitster has a real name of Reginald Dwight. What's his name? His real name, Reg Dwight. 3 clues, 3 big stars. You've got a 4th star to come, and then just tell me what links all 4 together. I noticed on one of our live feeds, some people commenting about Chillingham Castle, the Lego man, saying he'd heard that the torture chamber at Chillingham Castle wasn't real and all the rest of it. A lot of the stuff in there is real. Probably I'm one of the people that know more about the castle than many. I've spent a lot of time doing TV and radio there. What is the truth about Chillingham Castle is the torture chamber where it is now is not where the original torture chamber used to be. The original Chillingham Castle, the front of the castle, was that wall where the torture chamber is now. The real torture chamber used to be the room behind it. There's a small window in the torture chamber that actually goes through into where the original torture chamber was. Some of the equipment in there is original from the castle. Others are bits of equipment to replace things that had disappeared over the years that they've either bought or frankly plundered over the years from other castles. So there's a lot of stuff there. Most of it has been used in torture chambers, especially the Iron Maiden. Amazing. It's an Elizabeth I one, and it's amazing. And a lot of the stuff have been used, but not necessarily at that place. It used to be a Mott and Bailey castle, for those that know your castles, and they had the front bit built on later on in the castle's history. So that meant that the original torture chamber was brought forward to be a tourist attraction, because let's face it, we're frankly into all that kind of stuff. I think some of the chairs, some of the seats, the boiling cauldron where they boiled human flesh, there's a lot of cool stuff in there to see. And as I say, some of it was originally from the castle, others bits they've picked up from other castles that had their own torture accoutrement. So anyway, that's, if you want the truth, that's it right there. Let us move on. Who's next in line? Oh, we're off to Weardale. We've got Donna Maria there. Hello, Donna Maria.
Hi, Alan. Are you all right?
I'm good, darling. Thank you. What are you talking about tonight?
Well, when you've just said about the cauldron,
Yes.
I had a really bad accident about 9 years ago. This coming June,
right,
with a fat fryer.
Oh, blimey!
I don't keep chips in the house, so we always did it outside.
Right.
And what we used to do was have my fat fryer on a little table, and we would put it just outside the door, about 6 foot, 7 foot away from the kitchen door.
In the garden?
Yeah, no. We'd have like a deck from.
All right, okay, but you cook your chips outside, so there's no smell in the house.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Understand.
So, this particular year, I went outside, and David, my husband, wanted chips, and we don't normally do it. So, like I said, I set it outside and everything. Put the fat fryer out on a little table, and I mean a little table. It was only like 18 inches off the floor, maybe, just like, and then it was there.
Right.
And it started to rain, and it was June. It was June the 9th.
Right.
And it just started to rain, and I thought, best go out, make sure that the fat fry is okay. And I slipped on the decking.
Oh, good
And
gracious.
I literally slipped from the double doors into the table, and the fat fryer ended up on me completely. So I ended up with 3 and 4th degree burns. So it wasn't just like a little thing. And I ended up in the RVI, and this is why I phoned in tonight, because the RVI and the burns unit, the girls and the boys on there are absolutely fantastic.
Where did it get you?
Right. Well, I thought my lady bits might have ended up defunct.
So it hit you on your lap?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
All the way down my lap, all the way down my legs.
Right.
So it went in my crotch area, if you can say that.
Yeah.
Went down my legs, and I had leggings on, nylon leggings.
Right.
So they melted.
Yeah.
They melted. My son at the time, he's 26 now. I've got twins before 26.
He's probably still in therapy, I'd have thought, after seeing his mum in that state.
No, he didn't know because he was on the PlayStation.
Oh.
And I can remember David, he was a bit tired that day as well.
Right.
So he fell asleep. Ryan was on the PlayStation. I was screaming in the back. Nobody heard me. And it was just, and I just had to rip these nylon leggings off me. Right. It could have been a hell of a lot worse, but I'm here.
It's horrible though, because you burn your because my burn was from chip fat as well. It'd be on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just telling you this because I want to hear what happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
My head was on fire as I carried this thing to the garden. I was aware it wasn't hurting, but it was on fire. And I threw this thing into the garden, and as I did, some of the hot fat ran down my leg into a cowboy boot, which happened to be the fashion of the day. So my foot was actually in the burning fat, taking all of the skin off. And by the time the fire brigade got hold of me and ripped my boot off and stuck my feet in the bath of cold water, it just ballooned up to these huge bubbles of skin, which was they had to be cut off every day, and nurses had to come and see us every day to change. What burns are one of the most underrated, horrible things.
Exactly. This is the thing. What I was concerned about when I actually I got taken to dry burn first,
right?
Which we will say dry burn.
Sure.
It was dry burn first. Then I was stuck there And then they had to take me to the RVI because they just said, we can't deal with you here. So it was a long process this particular night.
Why couldn't they deal with you? I mean, surely they could give you initial care.
Well, they did give me initial care. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
They did give me initial care.
Right.
But they couldn't deal with the extent of the burn.
Right.
So they said, right, that's it. You must go. And so I was blue lighted up to the RVI. And like I said, the girls and boys there, fantastic.
Brilliant. So
however,
did you end up burning your lady bits?
Yeah, all down there.
How the hell? Because you use them on a daily basis is the thing. It's just that must have been agony.
It was, but at the end of the day, when I got there, when you're saying blisters and stuff, this is what I was getting on about.
Yeah.
When we are younger, we're told not to burst blisters, aren't we?
That's true.
Keep it, protect. All of my legs and all of like the inside of like
thighs and stuff.
Well, you can't see, but they were all blistering up.
Yeah.
And all they wanted to do was pierce it.
Yes.
And I'm going, hang on.
Just whoa.
What are you doing? Even though I tied the kite on whatever they were giving me for pain relief, I'm going, oh, no.
Because we're always told that the blisters protecting the bad skin underneath, and you've got to wait till they go naturally. That's what I was brought up to believe, but they cut all of mine off too.
Yeah, what they were saying was because the burn was so severe, they had to get it off so that the liquid could then dissipate.
Yes. Because the difference between ordinary blisters, sometimes they've got a little bit of liquid in them, but it's not like severe. Because I've always thought, if your trainers are too tight or whatever, and you get a bit of a blister on your foot because you've done a bit of work, I always thought that you just leave it, you put a little bit of Germaline on to stop it, hurting, and you crack on. But
Germaline? Do you not use Vaseline?
No. Germo, I'm old school. It's got to be the pink ointment as well. None of that fancy cream stuff. But no, the thing is, you put a bit of that on, but you leave it. You don't mess with it.
You leave it. That's what I grew up with.
But the first thing that happened with the burns, right the way up the leg, because I had all the blisteration as well, and they just said,
didn't they?
yes, I've injected your leg. This is not going to look pretty, but just bear with it. And then it was almost like she was cutting lace or something. It was horrible. Horrible.
No, it's not nice.
Did you need any skin grafts? Because that's serious burns you had.
Yes. They took it off. What they ended up doing was they punctured all of the blisters that were going on. And on my right leg, they took a good... I was 14, 16 inches off my top thigh.
Blimey, right.
And then started to... And luckily, my body accepted it, because obviously it's my skin, not nobody else's skin.
Sure.
I'm just left with a few scars and whatever, but... Cool. And like I said, it wasn't that I phoned for. It was just the fact that somebody had said...
Somebody mentioned it. You've got to tell a story like that. But you see, loads of people are now thinking, she puts a chip pan out. If it was raining, it could have exploded with it, the rain and the electrics and stuff.
That's the thing, right? We've got... right, we've got a proper outside kitchen now, but then...
But hang on, why have you got an outside kitchen?
Because we enjoy being outside.
All right, okay. No, because I was thinking if you're just worried about the smell, get a fan.
No.
Squeeze the Febreze. There's other ways of doing it.
But at that time, because I didn't like the smell of the
fat in the house,
and whatever.
No, I understand.
So we always used to do just chips, and we don't... I've got twins. They're 26 and they don't live with me no more.
Right.
But they will turn around and say, my mum will never ever cook chips.
Right.
unless it's outside.
Yeah.
So we did them outside, and it was just at this little table, and it just started to rain. And
It was an accident waiting to happen, mind, in fairness, wasn't it, really?
No, above it, we had one of those extendable clothes. Flaming hell, man.
Oh, the thing that you put your washing on. I know what you mean. I don't know what they call them either, but it's like a dryer thing, the metal thing.
But it wasn't a whirly gig, but you could just grab hold of it and pull it out.
Right.
And I thought, oh, it's raining. So underneath that, I'm going to put an umbrella out.
Just put an umbrella out for the chip pan. I mean, you can't make this up.
You can't. And because it just started to rain, I put my foot down and I
just went.
Slipped. And honest to God, you like you say, you couldn't write it.
No.
So you don't know what's going to happen.
No, yeah, this is absolutely true. And they always say that the worst accidents always happen in your own house. It's not necessarily on the road.
Well, it was outside the house.
Yeah, still on your property. Hey, wonderful story. Awful, but wonderful. Donna Maria, thank you for calling in.
Thanks, Alan.
Good on you, love. Bye-bye. How good was that? In a horrible sort of kind of burning of chip pan. Oh, jeepers. Horrific. Let us go to Hull where we find Neil. He's got a story to tell. Hiya, Neil.
Evening, Alan. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. What's your tale for us?
Good. I'll tell you what, after hearing about these chip pan birds, I didn't actually know anything about that. That had happened to you. That sounds awful. I think my tale sounds, it's going to sound really trivial.
No, hey, when somebody talks about their worst pain, this is your worst pain, so tell us about it. What was it?
Basically, back in, I think it was about tail end of 2013.
Right.
A bunch of us from work went on, what they call it, team building exercise to an indoor rock climbing centre.
Right.
And, shinning up and down the walls and that with safety harness on into there.
Yeah.
Until got to a point where I wanted to be on one of the other walls, and there's a smaller one. I was probably about maybe 5, 6 years like that. Need a heart.
Right.
Didn't need that.
Oh, well.
Sorry, 2 seconds, Alan. My missus is telling me something.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yes.
You are cutting out a little bit, so if there is a place in the house where you get a good signal, stand in it. No?
And you hold me fat ass off this stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's not happening. We'll try and get you back on if we can, Neil, so just hang on in there. I'll hand you back to Chris. Hopefully we can get a signal that works. In the meantime, I'll nip across to Stanley because Ian's there. Hiya, Ian.
Hello, Annie, Polly lad. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you kindly for ringing. What you want to talk about?
Alan, I don't know if you remember, but about 20 years ago, I was trying to collect some spectacle frames for Latvia.
Yes, I do remember that.
You do remember? My goodness gracious.
I remember because loads of people sent me them too.
Well, it was surprising and the response was amazing.
Right.
Since then, I've worked in Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Romania, Hungary. I've been all over the place working.
Good man.
But about 3 or 4 years ago, I invited a family to come and live in the northeast.
Right.
From Ukraine. They came, and the whole family are now living in Reading in Berkshire. Wow. They've got fantastic jobs.
Good.
They're on furlough at the moment. The 2 boys are in school. They speak 5 languages, and they're doing really, really well. And I'm so proud of them.
Yeah, so you should be.
But what I want to say, Alan, is this. Sasha, who is the wife of the family, the mother of the family,
right,
was here on her own, and me and my mum were supporting her. And she insisted on trying to do as much as she could on her own. For all, she was very nervous about speaking English.
Right.
So she got the bus from Stanley to Newcastle. She got the X30. She did. It's the truth. And she ended up near the Theatre Royal.
Right.
And she was looking for the job centre, which is off one of the side streets.
It is.
Because she had to apply for a national insurance number.
Okay.
Because she's a European citizen.
Yeah.
And she lost her bearings a bit, and this complete stranger came up to her and said, "Excuse me, pet, are you lost?" And the elderly chap with a hat and a beard,
Right.
a cap and a beard, I should say, she says, "I'm looking for this address." And he says, "Come here, pet." And he took her by the hand. He says, "I'll take you there."
Lovely.
And he walked her to the job centre. He says, "Now, do you need any more help?" She says, "No, thank you so much." And she never got his name. She probably will never see him again.
Right. That's nice.
But that lass now speaks with a Geordie accent because she ended up working in the casino down by the railway station. I won't say the name, but I'm sure there's plenty of people know.
We all know it, right?
Because I trained her husband 30 years ago.
Brilliant.
And she got a job on my reference and one thing and another. Anyway, she did very, very well, and she's now working in Reading as a teaching assistant because she's got her English up to such a level.
Wow.
It's fantastic. Anyway, if that man is listening, Alan, and I'm sure he probably is, thank you, because honestly, you have no idea.
That's the difference, though.
What a difference he's made.
Yeah, it's the warmth of this part of the world, though, isn't it? People do actually genuinely give a damn, and you don't find that in every place. That's a fact.
Well, it's true, Alan. It really is true. And just to let you know, I've never forgotten Benny from Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
And who was the other bugger that used to phone in from phone boxes?
Oh, we've had a few over the years, but we're just glad you're going well. Are you still doing the spectacle thing, Ian?
No, I'm not, Alan. I haven't been back to Ukraine. Well, last time I was in Latvia was it was about 5 years ago. I went back for a reunion.
Right.
But the last time I was in Moscow was 95.
Right.
And then the mafia got to it and everything, and I gave up the casino business in 2000. That's when I retired.
Right. Hey, well, enjoy the rest of it. Good talking to you, Ian. Welcome
And
back
you,
to the
Alan.
show. Thank you for coming back to us.
Good night. God bless to all the night owls. Thank you, Alan.
Oh, lovely fella. 01914 488 3188. People thriving, working hard, making a life for themselves. And it's what people have always done, travelling from wherever. It's like what Brits do, especially Northerners. If you go to pretty much everywhere on planet Earth. It was funny, the other day, there was one of those programmes on. I don't know whether you saw it. It's annoying because daytime telly drives me berserk. But it was one of them, A Place in the Sun shows. And the woman said, but if you move to this part of, and it was somewhere like Tenerife, it wasn't Tenerife, it was a place like Tenerife. If you move into this area, 80% of the people who live here are British. 80%. Now, I don't know anywhere in the north, genuinely, where 80% of the people come from one country. One country, not Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. English, right? 80% are English living in this area. And she says, the others are made up from people. There's some people from Scotland and Scandinavia, and there's about 10% of people from Spanish who live in this, on the island. And you kind of shake your head. And then she says, well, we're just going to talk to Graham, who's been over here for 15 years, and he knows what it's like. So they go and talk to this bloke, and he goes, hello, how you doing? And you think, that's about right. There is an old-fashioned song from back in the days of Geordie Ridley, wherever you gan, you're sure to find a Geordie, and if not a Geordie, a Mackem or an Ashingtonian or somebody from Durham or a Smoggy. There's... we're everywhere, and it's a good thing. 0191 488 3188. Worst pains Neil from Hull is back, hopefully standing on a chair, holding his phone in the air outside the window and getting a perfect signal. Hello, Neil, you're back. Now you were just about to climb the second smaller wall.
Yeah, the smaller wall, about 7 foot in the air. No safety harnesses or anything. Get so far up, I've got myself stuck, and I'm like, okay, I can't actually get back down from here. So I'm sort of scrabbling about, sort of trying to go left, trying to go right, and trying to find a foothold so I can go down again.
Right.
So I sort of turns around to try and look, and I sort of half fell, half jumped. Now, bear in mind, the floor is like essentially giant sponges.
Yes.
Down there. Well,
that's what you thought, anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. I never realised sponges could hurt so much. So I sort of plummet down. Here's an almighty crack. Well, I'd only bust my ankle.
Oh, right.
And my shin bone as well. Oh yeah.
So
it wasn't the most fun.
But you see, you're on the big wall, and you've usually got somebody holding you up with a rope.
Yeah, exactly.
On those boys. So the other thing, how did you break it though? Because usually you're quite right what you say. There's usually like floor mats and stuff that's designed to break your fall.
Oh, exactly. So the only thing that comes to my mind is I must have landed awkwardly or something.
In a funny way,
I mean,
right?
Yeah. I've never had the best luck in the world, to be perfectly honest with you.
Right.
I mean, bloody hell. Years before that, I broke the little toe on my right foot. I was hobbling about that much with a walking stick that the tendons on my right foot ended up shrinking, and now none of the toes on that foot actually touch the ground.
Oh, what?
So,
You've got erect toes on a foot. What's that about?
I know it's a weird thing. Anytime I tell anyone about that, they're like, "What?
How do you get your shoes on?"
But well, they don't stick up. They don't stick up too much. They're just about maybe quarter of an inch off the floor.
So they're not clown shoes that you walk on, because we'd recognise you if you had clown shoes on.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe like them Turkish slippers.
Yeah, with the curly, Aladdin shoes. That's right.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, getting back to the wall thing though, it's like I said, I bust this and that, and ended up having obviously had to go to hospital, cast in. I've now got I've got like screws through my ankle holding that together. I tell you, I was worrying. 2018, me and my wife Jane, we went to New York. I was worrying about going to the airport, and I thought I'm going to end up beeping at the metal detectors.
Did you?
I didn't actually. I was slightly disappointed by that.
Because if it's a war wound, you can say, "No, look at the leg." Just, you can beep the leg. It's all the work where they rebuilt me.
Oh, exactly. I'm basically Steve Austin.
So, I mean, are you getting any pain? Are you free from all of that? How long did it take you to get well?
It took me... I was still the following... I think this was about maybe October, November or something. I was still having to walk about on crutches in the January of 2014.
Right.
And it still gives me jip from time to time, especially... Now it's getting colder as well.
Yeah.
I still find myself limping about.
The thing is about broken bones that nobody tells you is that because I have a wonky. For those watching, you can say I have a wonky pinky.
Wonky what?
A wonky pinky.
That's I've heard it called that.
There you go. I was playing football in goal, and somebody kicked my pinky on the very end of it, and it broke it. It broke it in two places. Now, it was a freezing cold day, and it was hanging down my hand, so I thought I was in the semi-final of a cup competition, so I didn't want to come off because it was goalkeeper. So I got one of those little lolly sticks, you know, the circular ones.
Circular ones.
Not the flat ones, the little circular ones. The traffic light lolly stick, for those of you that can remember them back in the day. And what I did was I taped it next to me other finger, the next finger to it, and I stuck it in the glove, cracked on. It was all right.
Yeah.
Next day, my mother's saying, "What's the matter with your finger?" And it was still tied up. and I just left it. And I says, "Oh, it's just I've hurt it, so I'm just resting it for a while." She didn't know it was broken. Well, I didn't go to the doctors at all.
Oh yeah.
And it grew back wonky. And
no.
it took about 15 years for me to be able to bend it, but I can bend it again now. But it's wonky. But the point that I'm making from that is, not to give you my tale of woe, it's just I can tell when it's going to snow. It's like the broken bone goes. Do you get that with yours?
Yeah, I do actually. Strangely enough, now you mentioned it. Yeah, actually.
You can tell when it's going to be freezing.
It's a weird thing, isn't it?
It is. I can't understand it, and I don't know why it does. But
no,
it's.
I'll tell you what. Let's call it a superpower.
There we go. And that's even better than Steve Austin having a superpower.
Exactly.
Hey, well, we're glad we managed to get through to the end of the call. Neil, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Alan.
Yes, ma'am.
Alan, just while we're on, I know you're obviously big on supernatural.
Love it. Yeah.
Shenanigans and what have you. I know there was a thing that had been posted a while back on Facebook through Night Owls about ghosts and ghoulies and things.
Yes.
The amount of things that happen in my house.
Right, like
well,
what?
Honest, like disembodied footsteps up and down the landing. There's things move about, things disappear then reappear in different places. We've got this no word of a lie, we have this ghost dog.
Right.
It's
what have you seen?
I've seen the back end of this dog going by the living room, sort of like the tail end.
Right.
It's like, I don't know if it's like maybe about the size of an Alsatian or something like that.
Yeah.
I've never seen the whole thing, but I've seen it pass by. And then, like the other night, saying about footsteps and stuff. We've got two small dogs. One, a little boy's not too well at the minute, but the little girl, she's like a little Jack Russell Fox Terrier cross.
Right.
Honestly, she's all gob. She thinks she's a Rottweiler or something. But last night, she heard something in the house. So she starts barking and that. And my missus was telling me this. She actually heard someone go, shh.
Oh, right.
She was worrying that someone had actually broke in. So she gets up, she's looking around the house, and there's absolutely no one in.
Right.
Just, stuff like that. And what
we're doing, and I mean, Hull's not the end of the world. I mean, we can certainly get down to Hull, no problem. What we're looking for is we're looking for places to come and do a thing from, do some live stuff. We're going to do a whole batch of live ghost hunting stuff, not necessarily on Greatest Hits, but we're going to be doing some live on-screen stuff. So we'll keep your number if that's all right, and if and when the time comes.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I mean, there's talking about stuff down this way. There's like where I work. Is it okay if I say the name of the place?
Sure, go for it.
Right, it's Pizza Express.
Right.
That's in Prince's Quay Shopping Centre.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I've been like out the back, and we've got like these little plastic bowls and stuff for like prepping veg and what have you in them. There was one time I actually saw some literally fly off a shelf across to the other end of the room, and we've got like this dry store for where we keep all the dry ingredients, all the beer and that sort of thing.
Sure.
There's been a couple of times where I've been stood there and someone, at least it looks like someone's just walked past, except no one's actually there. I look into the store and there's actually no one in there.
Right, but you just feel it. Hey, well,
in the basement.
Giving us lots to think about as well.
Oh,
We've made a note of your number, so that may well be something that we choose to do. Neil, thank you very much for coming on.
Fabulous. Always a pleasure to be Helen.
Bless you, man. Bye-bye. There you go. Neil, one of us. Time for our fourth clue as well. We want you trying to win this thing. We got, I think, Gene's due to come on as well. Clue number one, a Tamil Motown hitster, greatest hitster, who was very superstitious. Second clue, this greatest hitster had a backing band called the Pips. What was their name? Third clue, This greatest hitster has a real name of Reginald Dwight. Reginald Dwight. 3 clues down. The 4th clue is this. Whitney Houston's cousin cum auntie who walked on by and she knew the way to San Jose. Okay? Whitney Houston's cousin cum auntie who walked on by and also knew the way to San Jose. La, 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 la. Right, there you go. So you got the 4 clues. You don't need to la la it. 4 clues, 4 famous people. What is the link we're looking for? Now, you could say they're all singers. Yes, there is a very specific link that ties these 4 people together. What is it? What's it? Whip out that what's it right now by calling 0191 488 3188.